on digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The Two Mics on Talk Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mics on TalkSport. It is New Year's Eve, the last day of the year, and it's time to take stock. We'll be investigating whether the wind is really upsetting Jurgen Klopp's tactics in the Premier League. We'll get an update on Porky's calf injury, which seems to be getting worse. Cool. And we'll have some advice on how to avoid getting over-bladderised tonight. 08717 223344. Also, coming up on the show a bit later, it's time for the Porky Quiz. And because it's the end of another year, the questions are all about the last 12 months. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. Time to say a very good afternoon, and I suppose a Happy New Year. I don't know if it's too early to say Happy New Year. People are saying it to each other, and it's not really a Happy New Year until midnight, is it?
But it's the last time you and I will see each other before New Year, because I'm not on the bladderation trail tonight, but you are. And I have to say, within the next half hour, I want everybody to hang on, because we have taken some measures here at TalkSport, with the full authority of the management, to try and prevent you getting into trouble tonight.
Well, I'm not going anywhere tonight.
We've set up a particular...
What makes you think I'm going anywhere?
You say that every New Year's Eve. You say that every New Year's Eve.
The last 4 New Year's Eves, I've actually been working in here at midnight.
Yeah, but the problem is, Mike, we leave you in a room...
First one in 5 years, I'm actually not working.
We leave you in a room on your own, right, and it becomes your familiar pattern. That is a bottle of white, a bottle of red, a bottle of rosé, and you finish up with a bottle of whiskey.
So you're not concerned about me. You're not concerned about me going out. You're just concerned about whatever it is that I do, even if I stay in.
Well, I've known you a lot of years, and I've seen you make these vows about staying in. And after usually the bottle of rosé, you suddenly start thinking, actually, it looks good out there. I think I'll get out there and start mixing with people.
I will definitely not be going out tonight. I'll be watching the fireworks on the television. I may have a drink, definitely, but I will certainly not be going out.
That's the first concession. Then you will certainly be having a drink.
Well,
I won't be.
You won't be having a drink. Really?
No, not under any circumstances.
What, because of your injury?
No, not because of my injury. We'll come to that in a minute, because...
Yeah, you came in looking a bit lame, I have to say.
I have to say, it just went.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I pulled my calf yesterday, right? And that's when I was... feeding my ducks, and my bag of food started,
very dangerous activity.
Started blowing away, so I sprinted round the pond, and my calf muscle went. Anyway, I took the necessary precautions yesterday, and it got right.
It seemed to be okay yesterday.
Seemed to be all right.
Now,
so this morning, I had a pile of things to do before I came to the studios, and just as I was coming out of Waterloo Station in London, I went to sprint across the road because the lights were going like orange flashing. Yes.
I've never seen you sprint in my entire life.
And honestly, as I did, I went, Seriously, it was like that.
Because you were trying to kind of get out of the blocks fast?
No, it was so painful.
But why are you trying to run across the road? Why don't you just wait for the light to change?
Well, because the lights were going to change and I was going to be knocked down by a bus or something if I didn't get out of the way. So what I'm saying is, I then was rolling around on the pavement in agony. I mean, have you ever had a pain like this?
What a terrible sight that must have been.
Oh, it was terrible. It was. I pulled a muscle in my calf.
You didn't get picked up for vagrancy or something?
Well, I didn't. Fortunately, a very friendly black cab driver stopped.
Oh, did he?
Yes, and he said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "No. Now, normally I can walk to the studios from Waterloo Station in 10 minutes.
Right.
No way I could walk even 10 paces. So he helped pick me up, put me in the back of his cab.
So you can walk on it now, though, but you're limping heavily.
I'm limping heavily. And he gave me some advice. He said his wife was a nurse. He said, take paracetamol, because what that will do is that will take the pain away. He said, and once the pain is...
This guy's a cab driver.
A cab driver,
Why would you take medical advice from him?
His wife's a nurse.
So what?
So what he said was, well, if she's a nurse, she knows how to treat people with pain, doesn't she?
Well, he said she's a nurse. Maybe she isn't a nurse. Maybe he just said that to
Why would he tell me
you.
she's a nurse if she's not?
Well, maybe he's one of these guys that likes to give advice and wants to convince you that
That's
he knows what he's
talking
talking about.
That's a terrible thing to say.
Well, I don't know. You don't know this guy, do you?
Every black cab driver I've ever met has been an honourable and decent citizen.
I'm not suggesting he's not.
I think it's rather disgraceful to cast aspersions on the character of a black cab driver. So anyway, he said... Take the paracetamol, because what happens then is that takes the pain out of your mind.
So did you do that then?
Well, I haven't got any paracetamol.
Well, I could probably get you some.
I don't like taking drugs.
You take 27 pills every single day, don't you?
Yeah, but that's for my dicky heart. Only 1/3 of my heart works, so I have to for that. But I don't like taking other stuff in case.
Oh, okay.
In case it sort of mixes.
In case it mixes up.
In case the cocktail becomes toxic or something like that, you know. So anyway...
You're in a terrible state, really, aren't you?
I'm in a pretty bad state.
Falling apart.
So So he said, take the paracetamol, the pain will go, that'll take your mind off it. He said, and then your mind will then start working on healing the wound and not on coping with the pain, which I thought was very good.
Well, maybe we should get somebody who actually knows about these things, some kind of sports injury specialist.
Well, he seemed to know quite a lot about it.
Vincent Kompany, you've got the same problem. He's got a bad calf injury as well.
But you know what? I can now sympathise with him and empathise with him in the most best possible way by actually having the injury myself.
Well, it's the only thing you could possibly have in common with him, isn't it?
Let me just think.
What else could you have in common with Vincent Kompany?
Vincent Kompany earns $175,000 a week.
Yeah.
Plays for Manchester City. Has a head which has a square shape.
His head is square? Yeah, well, your head is round, I suppose.
Yes, that's right, yes. No, we don't have a lot in common.
I would say chiseled, right. I think, is probably a better description, isn't it?
No, I think no. I mean, I'm not being rude here, but the cranial composition of Vincent Kompany's skull is like more square-shaped than round, if you know what I mean.
But that's because he doesn't have any excess sort of fat around his face.
Well, I don't have any excess fat around my face.
No, we're going to talk about Jurgen Klopp as well.
Jurgen Klopp. Now, that was an odd one.
Reckons that the wind in this country is affecting the way that his tactics are sort of borne out on the field, and he reckons that because of the weather in this country, he can't have the same tactics as he had in Germany.
And what is the difference between the climatic conditions in Alemania and the climatic conditions here?
He says here it's a lot more windy. But it hasn't been that windy ever since he's been here, has
Definitely not. One of my sister's fir trees blew over Christmas. Yeah. And that was quite a high wind.
Well, yeah, but you're not like trying to kick a ball around there,
Yeah, and we're not in the middle of a stadium surrounded by 4 large stands.
Exactly.
Which should protect you largely from the wind.
Exactly. It's a funny thing to say, though, isn't it?
I think Mr. Klopp's main problem was that although Benteke scored the fastest second-half goal in the season so far, in the Premier League season so far, 22 seconds after the restart, he did also miss 2 even easier chances. Now, the problem...
Especially that one when he was one-on-one with the goalkeeper.
Well, I was going to say the one-on-one situation is unforgivable, really, isn't it, for a man who's paid God knows how much money and leads the line.
Well, you've got to score those.
In a major Premier League team. Now, what I was going to say is, and I'm not winding my Liverpool mates up. I have a lot of mates on Merseyside who are Reds, who are Liverpool fans, but there is a lot of Lukaku envy on Merseyside.
Are you sure you haven't just kind of come up with that?
No.
Why would they have Lukaku envy?
Well,
because Lukaku misses quite a lot of chances as well.
No, he doesn't. No, he scores.
He's scoring a lot of goals, but he also misses quite a few.
No, the problem is our defence is letting us down a little bit. He's scoring all the goals, but we're letting too many goals in. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I think a bit of what Mr. Klopp's problems were last night...
Maybe the wind was troubling him as he was approaching the penalty area.
No, I think that's a red herring, mate. I think what it is that I think Mr. Klopp was a little bit upset that Benteke did not put away those other 2 chances, which is the one he scored, really.
He didn't need to in the end, did he? They only needed 1 goal.
Well, yeah, but you can't...
And now they're 7th.
Mike, you can't go through life, although I've noticed this is your attitude, just doing it. You can't go through life just doing enough.
Well, if you only need 1 goal to win the game, that's good enough, isn't it?
No, you should go through life having something in reserve. You should go through life thinking to yourself, it doesn't matter what they throw at me, I have the reserves, the resources, the will and the power to fend them off.
But isn't it more important...
with a 1-goal lead, you haven't.
But isn't it more important to score goals that count rather than just additional goals? I know that you would say, well, all goals are good, but I mean, he got the most important one, which is the 1-0 goal. The rest of it doesn't really matter. If he's going to score another goal, better if it's in a match where they win it 1-0.
And what happens if Liverpool and Leicester, on the last day of this season, are vying for that vital 4th place, the remaining place in the Champions League, albeit a qualifying place.
Albeit, yes.
I mean,
albeit.
Yes, exactly what I mean. And it's all down to goal difference.
Well,
what happens then?
That's always a possibility.
Well, of course it is. So you've just completely destroyed your own argument.
No, I haven't. Because if you get 3 points for every goal you score, that's better than just getting 3 points for every 2 or 3 goals you score, isn't it?
Where's that come from?
What I'm trying to explain to you is if
you want to change the rules of football instantly, just now.
If you score a goal and the team wins 1-0, that's a more important goal than the second goal would have been last night. Because the second goal didn't matter.
Don't agree. And also, remember, you frighten your enemies by the power of your attack.
Is that right?
That's true on the battlefield, that's true in football, that's true in boxing, it's true in everything else.
Okay.
And if the power of your attack is mooted and seen to be somewhat powder puff, then you don't yield the same respect from the next opponent as you do from this one.
Well, we're going to be talking
4-0 last night
to Ray Houghton about this.
If they'd won 4-0 last night, do you not think that their next opponents would have felt a shudder of trepidation going down their spine rather than 1-0?
But they're just not playing that well at the moment.
You don't understand psychology.
I do
indeed
understand it. Of course I understand it. I also understand that we have to watch the clock as well, because even though this is the last show of the year, the clock is still running. It's actually.
I suppose I'm going to have to wish you Happy New Year, am I, before the end of the show?
Well, I think that would be nice if you wouldn't mind. If you wouldn't mind, you could do it. You could do it actually. See,
that's your
publicly.
problem. That's your problem. You don't. You honestly don't concentrate on the parts of a human being's will power that matter.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, we'll talk more about that coming up. Also, it's Porky Quiz time as well, and
sure
that's on
is.
the last 12 months, events of the last 12 months.
8 out of 10. Vote
8 out of
Porky.
10. I'm saying 3.
Vote Porky.
This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. We're going to be talking to Ray Houghton coming up very shortly. We'll find out from him whether the wind could be affecting the way Liverpool are playing. It seems completely and utterly crazy to me. A couple of tweets and texts here about your injury. Mark says, Porky, you're the Daniel Sturridge of TalkSport. Don't rush back or that injury will flare up again.
Well, hang on. Is Daniel Sturridge, in fact, a calf?
I'm not sure, actually. I think it's usually a thigh with him.
Yeah, I thought it was a thigh. But anyway,
I don't think he means you've got the same injury. I think
I see what you mean. Yeah, repetitive injuries.
Repetitive injuries, exactly.
Yes, I understand.
Frazzle says, take paracetamol. Wow, amazing advice. Incredibly lucky that Porky bumped into that guy.
Yes.
And here's one from Bob, who says the similarities between Mike Parry and Vincent Kompany are 0.
Yes.
I'm afraid.
Yes.
And here's one from Rob, who obviously knows a thing or two about calves. He says, Porky, you've got a calf strain.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like a bad one. You need a tubey grip ASAP and probably for the next 4 weeks. Tubey grip.
What is a tubey grip?
Maybe it's one of those kind of elastic type socks.
Oof, God, I tell you what, it's more painful than that.
You say that it unexpectedly takes your full bulk and then it popped. It can get a lot worse if you don't sort it out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to have to get some. Do you know what I did last night, by the way? I was very, very clever because, you know, I got the original injury yesterday.
Yes.
So last night, right, I'm smarter than the average bear when these sort of things happen. I can improvise.
Right.
So what happened last night was I got down into the underground car park.
Compensating by not putting your weight on it or anything like that?
Well, it started getting better all day yesterday, and I thought, well, I'll kill it off now, kill off the injury. So I went down to the underground car park because I still have to recover some Christmas presents from the old boot. From the boot of
the car.
Yeah,
why were there still Christmas presents in there?
Well, because I hadn't had time to get them out. It's as simple as that.
Anything interesting that's left over that you can maybe give to me or give to my kids or something like that?
No. These
Nothing
are presents
like
given to me by my family.
Right.
Things like, beautiful sort of...
Oh, things that you've actually received?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, right.
Yes, yeah.
Well, like what sort of stuff?
A beautiful shaving mirror.
A beautiful shaving mirror.
I mean,
how beautiful can a shaving mirror be?
Well, polished steel.
Right.
And mirrors on either side.
And glass.
And light.
Yeah.
A light.
Oh, there's a light as well.
Oh, yeah, brilliant.
Very nice.
Yeah. So very nice indeed. But anyway, what I did was...
But you don't really shave, do you?
Oh, yes, I do.
Do you?
Oh, yes.
You've got a beard?
No, it doesn't matter. The other parts of the face have to be kept in really good shape.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, you have to trim the beard all the time.
Do you?
Which I do with my
So it still actually
beard trimmer.
grows then, your hair?
Yeah, of course it does, you idiot.
Okay.
So anyway, I came up with a brilliant idea.
What was that?
I thought, I'm going to be sort of messing around here for about 10 minutes, sorting things out. So I started the car...
Yeah.
And I stood with my back to the exhaust pipe and let the hot air come out of the exhaust pipe.
That doesn't sound like a very safe thing to do.
No, it was. And whacked around my calf.
You burn yourself on the exhaust pipe?
No.
It's that hot, isn't it?
No, it wasn't that close to the exhaust pipe.
Okay.
But it had a fantastic effect because, the way...
Isn't it like toxic fumes, though?
Well, yeah, they are toxic if you're in a closed environment, but this is an underground car park.
Yeah, but it can't be good for your skin or anything, can it?
I can't say I can be bad for your skin.
Standing in front of an exhaust pipe. Doesn't sound like a good idea.
I can't say I'm bad for your skin. So I literally rolled up my trouser leg. Yeah, I'll show you. Like this, see?
Rolled up your trouser leg in the underground car park?
In the underground car park.
Right. Did anybody see you doing that?
No, but it wouldn't matter if they did. I wasn't doing anything nefarious, was I?
Local authorities.
That would be ridiculous.
This guy's gone
and
mad.
then I thought it was quite a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
It'd be like having, a hairdryer on it or something like that. And I stood there, and I'm not joking, as each pump of the exhaust pipe air came out.
Right.
And
it's not very environmentally friendly, really, that either, is it?
Well, it's only like any other car that's got the engine running.
No, I
There's
know, but you're
millions
not
of them in
supposed
this
to leave the
country.
engine running anyway, are you? They're asking people not to do that when they're in town and when they're parked.
Well, you've been so pedantic. I'm telling you, I was trying to
endangering everybody's environment.
Oh, rubbish! Utter rubbish! It's a very big underground car park. It's got air vents. Okay,
all right.
So no problem at all. And as it came out, and I sort of started, moving my ankle around. Standing on tiptoe, going back.
Well, I suppose the heat would be good for it.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
You've only just got that, have
yeah,
you?
but it's kind of a ridiculous way to do it. Why don't you just use a hairdryer?
I haven't got one.
You haven't got a hairdryer?
I haven't got a hairdryer.
Why not?
I know I haven't got a hairdryer because when I tried to defrost the fridge by leaving it open, I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll put a hairdryer in it. But I couldn't find one, so I haven't got one.
Well, you should buy one. Even just for defrosting the freezer.
Yeah, OK, maybe I will. But anyway, look, this is all ridiculous. What I'm saying is, it's clear that what you need on this is hot air.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Now,
well, you've got plenty of that, haven't you? Generally speaking.
I'm not going to answer that question. Now, the point is, I also know from previous experiences and my study of physiology of the human body that actually, did you know that sometimes people say, oh, don't put hot air on your wound or on your injury.
Yeah.
Right, don't put heat on your injury. That's the worst thing you can do. And then other people say, don't put ice or cold
that's why
pack
you don't
on your
take
injury.
medical advice from people who don't know what they're talking about.
Hang on. Other people say, don't put an ice cold pack on your damaged calf.
Well, this guy says a tubey grip. How about that?
I don't know what that is. Right. Hang on, that's the worst thing you can do. Do you know what the answer is?
What is the answer? Go to a doctor. Get proper medical advice. That's the answer.
I know what the answer is.
What is it?
The answer is if you put very hot or very cold, like ice, it does not matter because what you're doing is you're stimulating the muscle.
And you're stimulating the blood as well.
Stimulating the blood.
Get moving around it.
Stimulating the muscle, stimulating the blood, and all you need to do is actually trigger it to get moving, and that's exactly what I did. So by this morning, it was all right. And then suddenly, sprinted across the old road outside Waterloo Station, bang,
well, you
ping.
shouldn't try and do any sudden,
by the way. I felt the ping.
Athletic movement.
I felt the, ooh.
Well, you know what Vincent Kompany's going to have to do? They're giving him a full body scan, right, to evaluate his lifestyle.
They're going to check out everything, including the shoes he wears.
Yeah, because he keeps getting these calf injuries.
The angle of his seat in his car to see if that's causing him a problem.
Maybe you need to do that.
Well, maybe. Who knows?
Have you had this injury before?
No, I haven't, no.
First time ever?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It is, yeah. I've had things like sciatica before.
Right.
Well, sciatica's not pleasant because that feels like somebody's trying to bend your feet up towards your neck all the time and all that sort of thing.
You really are
know
falling
what I mean?
apart, as I said earlier.
No, I'm not. I think because I drive myself so hard, I sometimes fail to these. Now, listen, mate, we've put a picture out, right?
Have you?
Which I've just put a picture out, which you know nothing about, but I mean, it is in your interests, okay?
When you say you've put it out, well, you've tweeted it.
Tweeted a picture, and I want you to have a look at it, OK?
I will have a look.
And it's a group of people which I've brought together here at TalkSport under the auspices of the management.
It's a very odd picture.
We're all holding signs, and you see what the sign says?
The sign says NYEMG.
Yes.
And then underneath it says missionary.
That's right.
What does that mean?
New Year's Eve.
Right.
MG is you.
Right.
Missionary is our mission to keep you off the bladderation trail tonight.
What, so all these people are going to be following me around then?
Well, they're going to be looking after your interests between now and you leaving the studio.
They all look pretty miserable, I have to say.
No, we've even enlisted our own guard dog.
I see the dog, yeah.
See the
It's
dog
a
in the front?
lovely-looking black Labrador.
Do you know what that dog's called?
What's his name?
Bramwell.
This is Bramwell from yesterday, isn't it?
This is Bramwell.
This is the guy... It's Banwell.
Banwell.
Not Branwell.
Banwell, yes.
This is
Beautiful
the dog that barked at you.
That's right, absolutely.
Because he decided now he likes you.
Yes, and Banwell's going to be your guard dog, OK? Because Banwell can sense...
Have you honestly got nothing better to do? Did you actually make these signs up?
Well, I didn't make them up. The management at TalkSport did.
The management made them up with black magic marker, did they? Are you sure?
I'm certain. I don't know what they made them up. They were given to me and they were saying, look, we're very worried about MG. We all know what happens on a New Year's Eve with him. Can we get a squad together to keep an eye? You'll notice every member of that squad, OK?
Looks very miserable.
Exactly. There's no smiling going on there.
Missionaries.
There's no smiling going on there because...
I think this is a bit of victimisation, actually.
Why?
Well, because you're not doing it for anybody else who's going out. Lots of people are going out tonight. Why aren't you following them around?
Well, nobody that we know here at TalkSport do we expect to be scraping out of a gutter at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Well, you won't be scraping me out of a gutter either.
Yeah, well, you say that.
You're
but
projecting again, aren't you?
You say that, but we know better. We know better.
Okay.
Anyway, look, that's...
Well, if I turn around at any point during the course of the evening and see any one of these people, I shall attempt to lose them. How about that?
What does that mean?
Well, it means I don't want to be followed around.
Well, they're not following you around, but they might offer maybe advice before you go home tonight.
Before I go out.
The dog is there to pull your heartstrings and remind you that you have a dog yourself.
Dog's lovely.
So you have to behave yourself.
The highlight of this picture is the dog.
Yeah, well, the dog is
wearing one of these things around his neck.
Yeah, well, sort of. But he's got his master there with him. You know, there's me there, of course, in the front of the.
You're obsessed with me, aren't you? You're basically obsessed with me, and you're obsessed with my lifestyle.
Why would I be obsessed with you and your lifestyle?
Well, it would appear that you are obsessed. I don't know why you would kind of want to do something like this.
Because
it seems very odd indeed.
You see, the thing is, you can't ever sort of say, well, look, I really appreciate how much interest you're taking in trying to keep me on the straight and narrow, can you?
Well, because I don't need to be kept on the straight and narrow, thank you very much. Certainly not by you.
Why is that?
Because I'm perfectly capable of looking after myself.
Yeah, you see, this is the delusion.
I'm not the one limping about because I tried to run at the stage of life that I am at where you shouldn't be running at all.
You see, to be honest, this is the self-delusion.
Self-delusion?
The self-delusion that guides your life, I suppose, you know what I mean? But
self-delusion being your speciality.
I'm sorry?
self-delusion being your speciality.
No, not at all.
It is.
But anyway, look.
Now, hold on to your thoughts for a moment, because we're going to talk to Ray Houghton coming up next, and we're going to try and make sure that whenever the clock says we have to stop, we're going to stop, because it's the last show of the year. So we can try and do that properly. What do you think?
Yeah, of course we can. I just don't... You see, your problem is, Mike, you've now used that "have you seen the time" mantra that you
I didn't say it.
To try and shut me up when I've just made a point which completely demolishes your ridiculous argument. You see what I mean?
I do see what you mean.
Use that as a weapon now.
Yes.
Well, I'm not falling for it.
Well, as long as you stop talking, I don't mind what you do. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. The Porky Quiz coming up a little bit later on. We're going to talk football now, though, with Ray Houghton. Liverpool got 3 points last night. Benteke only scored 1 goal, but that was the only goal he needed to score. But we're going to find out from Ray, what about the tactics and what about the weather? Ray, very good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, boys.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. What do you make of this Jurgen Klopp statement where he said, look, you know, the tactics that I'm using here can't be the same as they were in Germany because basically the weather's different. He reckons the wind is a problem, he says.
Yeah, well, the wind is a problem, I can assure you. But it's, one of them things you have to adjust to. I think at the moment, when you look at the manager and what he said before games and after games, he makes the game very, very simple. You know, he doesn't overcomplicate it. He doesn't tell the media anything they don't already know. And he doesn't tell the players anything either that way. So, he's very simple. He likes his players to go out there and play it with a high tempo. He likes to try and get the ball down and play. But I think the most important thing of late, Mike, is that they lost 3-0 to Watford. And it was a well below par performance from Liverpool. And I think since then, I think the manager and the players have got together and said, look, we have to be harder to play against. And the last 2 games, they've won 1-0, Leicester at home, and last night's match against Sunderland. So there's a real improvement as far as defending is concerned, but they have to get the home form much better if they're going to break into the top 4.
Now, Ray, how does Benteke feel? Because you get the feeling that he's not an automatic choice for Mr. Klopp, that he uses him as and when he seems to be forced to. So when Benteke gets in the team, leading the line, he may feel he hasn't got 100% support from the boss. He then scores a goal, that's no problem at all, 22 seconds after half-time, but then misses 2 sitters, which are easier than the one he scored. So, I mean, is that because the boy doesn't have the confidence that he needs, with the manager supporting him 100% to lead the line?
No, I don't think so, mate. I mean, the 2 chances he's missed, Christian will know that he should have scored. I mean, I've seen the game against Leicester when they were 1-0 up. In the last few seconds of the game, there was a 5v1 situation, and he went through and he should have just rolled it into the net. But he was hesitant, and that might be just down to lack of match sharpness, a bit of belief in himself. I don't think it will come from the manager. You know, at the end of the day, once you get onto the pitch, you have to do what's right at any particular moment in the game. And he has done well in the sense that he scored the winning goal in both the last 2 matches that Liverpool have played. But, it's up to him now. It's not up to the manager to impress Christian Benteke. He's done it all. He's won the league in Germany. He's got to the Champions League final. It's up to Christian Benteke to get his opportunities, to play well, and then say to the manager, try and leave me out the team. That's what he should be looking at the moment. And Liverpool are just starting to show signs, as I said recently, of, a couple of good wins, back-to-back victories. And they've got loads of games coming up, lads. They've got one this weekend, and then they've got the first leg of the Capital One Cup semi-final against Stoke. They've got Exeter in the FA Cup, and then they've got the big one against Manchester United. I think it's on the 16th or 17th of January. So there's huge games coming up for Liverpool, and this is where you're going to have to utilise your squad as best you can.
And they'll have to become more consistent, won't they, like you were saying? I mean, they sometimes seem like 2 completely different teams. When they play badly, they play very badly, but they can play brilliantly at the same, 1 week later. Yeah,
I think it's the sign of true champions, Mike, is where you show consistency throughout the season. You're not going to play great every game, but it's how you rebound to adversity. You have one bad game and then you get back to winning ways. Look at Arsenal. They lost convincingly to Southampton 4-0. Next game they go out and win. And that's what Arsenal are trying to show this season, more consistency throughout the season. That's why they're top of the league at the moment. And Liverpool need to do likewise. And it's a home form. Away from home, they've been very, very good. You look at the results they've got. They beat Sunderland, they beat Chelsea, they beat Manchester City, they've drawn with Tottenham, Arsenal, Everton. So when you look at that point, all the top sides have done well. They've had 2 or 3 below par performances. They lost to Manchester United away, Newcastle away, and more recently Watford. But it's the home form that you have to really get right, and Liverpool haven't. They've not dominated teams at Anfield. They've just got over the line in matches. They've scraped 3 points here and there, and they have to show certainly more consistency at home. If they can do that this season, above all seasons, there's a real chance for teams to break into that top four. It isn't going to be the usual contenders: Man City, Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea. There's going to be opportunities for others if they can string a run of results together.
That's right. Now, Ray, you mentioned the League Cup semi-final. The other one, of course, takes place between Everton and Manchester City. And I'm telling you now, it is going to be an Everton-Liverpool final in the League Cup at Wembley. No problem.
Yeah, now that Vincent Kompany's, possibly not going to play for a while, that might well happen.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Listen, I just think with Everton, you know what, I think they should be doing better. I think Everton have got a very good side. I think there's some really talented players, some very good defenders there, some very good attacking players. Lukaku's in good form in front of goal at the moment. They just have to stop making silly mistakes. And I think you're quite right. Anything could happen in these two semi-finals, mate, to be honest. I think you've got four very good sides. Stoke are bang on form at the moment. They're playing very well. Mark Hughes has done a great job there. I think Man City and Everton's going to be, the two standout matches in the semi-final between them two sides. I think anything could happen in them games. Likewise with Liverpool and Stoke. I don't think you definitively could sit there and say, they're definitely going to be final, and they're definitely going to be in the final.
No,
I think it really is up for grabs between the four.
And also, you said to me a few weeks ago that you didn't think it'd be a great final if it was a local Merseyside derby.
No,
you said to me it's better if it's not like that because...
Don't be ridiculous. I didn't say that
at all. You said it about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
I would rather play Liverpool in the final of the League Cup than Stoke. And with no disrespect to Stoke, it's a more glamorous tie.
Well, it sounds
Everton
more
versus
glamorous,
Liverpool.
but Stoke may well beat Liverpool.
Well, they may do and all that. The thing I've got about Everton at the moment, Ray, is this. Davy Moyes did a fantastic job for 11 years for Everton, right? Yeah. And I always felt that with the resources he had in those days, there wasn't as much money around then as there is now. He punched above his weight with the squad he was able to put together. What I think's happening now is, for some unknown reason, Roberto Martinez is punching under his weight because he's got better players than Davy had.
Well, I've got to say, both of them are playing a great brand of football, though, Mike. I mean, I love watching Everton. I really do. And I know, and the last 2 or 3 seasons with Dave as well, I thought Dave didn't get the credit he deserved, to be honest. I thought Everton played some wonderful football under David Moyes.
Yes.
I mean, he was known as more of someone who, got his team well organised, well drilled. But I think the last 2 seasons, certainly, they were playing expansive football. They were good to watch. And I think at the moment they're good to watch. And, you've got young Stones there who's going to be a revelation, and I hope he continues to play in the manner he does, bring the ball out from the back. We don't see that enough from English players
exactly
today. And he should be encouraged to do that more often because I think that's the way forward for everyone. And you're right, we've got good players there. I think maybe some injuries is hampered. James McCarthy, like Jagielka was out, Leighton Baines was out for a spell. So, they're big players within the setup of Everton Football Club. Once you get them back, I'm sure Everton will start getting higher up the league as well. And it's a chance for them.
Sure.
It's a marker for them. We're only halfway through. We've still got 19 league games to go. But everything's to play for as far as all the teams are concerned. And, you couldn't tell now who's going to win the league, who's going to come second, who's going to come third or fourth. It really is who can put a good run of games together and pick up some big results.
Sure. Yeah, it's very, very difficult to predict anything at the moment.
Yeah.
What about Liverpool and the transfer window, Ray? Do you think they need to spend any money, and will they spend any money?
I don't think it's a great window, Mike, to be honest, for the top sides. I've got to be honest with you, because what you want to do more than anything is bring in better quality than you've got. And if it's not out there, then don't waste your money. I really think you should be looking to, look at the squad that you've got and try to get even more out of them if you can. If there's 1 or 2 that you can bring in that's going to make you better, then do it. I really think at this time of the year, it's mainly the teams that are down at the bottom with the money that's going to be involved in the Barclays Premier League next season. It's vital for them to stay, and that's why some of the chairmen, some of the owners might have a gamble to go out there and bring in new faces just to try and give their team a chance of staying up or making sure that they stay in the division. But the top sides, and I think over the years, not many have gone out and bought at this time of the year. I think they'll be looking maybe to the summer to bring in new players to try and improve them for the following season.
Sure. Ray, have a very, very happy New Year.
And to you, lads.
Are you out later, or are you taking
Yeah,
easy?
I want to go out for a meal with some friends. Yeah, and another quiet night tonight. It won't be too heavy at all. Yeah,
absolutely.
We're very pleased to hear it. Very quiet night all round.
Yeah, we're relying on you, Ray. To set the standards.
Absolutely right.
Good man.
Ray, thanks very much.
Thanks
very much indeed, Ray Houghton. They're telling us what he thinks Liverpool need to do. They just need to be more consistent.
Absolutely.
They don't need to buy anybody, apparently.
No, they don't need to buy anybody. Terrific response to the picture about the squad, the missionary squad who are going to be looking after you tonight.
Yeah, I've got Mark here on Twitter who says, that dog really doesn't like you, Porky. I have a lab, and that is the look of fear.
That's very, very harsh indeed.
And Brad says, does Porky hate the bloke on the right? It looks a bit like a cyclist to me. I don't know who that is.
Well,
who's on the right?
You see, the dog loves me because Steve sends in a tweet saying, why is that dog looking so lovely at you, Mike? But then adds, rather with a barbed comment, have you got leftover breakfast in your beard? It's a bit harsh,
That
isn't it?
may well be the reason, of course. We'll talk some more about that ridiculous photograph that's out there on Twitter. I'll have to make some comments on it myself as well. This is Talk Sport with the two mics.
That's great. It starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes, an airplane, and Lenny Bruce is not afraid. I have a hurricane. Listen to yourself. Churn world serves its own needs. Dummy serve your own needs. Beat it up and not speak. Grunt, no strength. The ladder starts to clatter with fear. Fight down. High wire and a fire representative.
You know this song, right?
What?
You know this song?
That song?
You know this song?
No, hang on. Is this one of your songs that we decided to recommend to our listeners?
Well, we decided we would make 6 selections each, right?
Right, yes.
For a sort of New Year's Eve party.
That we're not having, obviously.
We're not going to a party.
I'm not going to a party, but we're...
But if I was, I'd be playing this song.
Right.
Do you know what it is? You have to wait for the line, which is coming up very shortly.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
Looking quizzical.
I reckon this song's called The End of the World.
It is.
Right. Is it The Clash?
No, it's the R.E.M.
R.E.M. They're a great group.
They are a great group.
Michael Stipe.
This is possibly their most famous song.
No, it's not.
But you've never heard of it?
No, it's not. Their most famous song was That's Me in the Corner. That's me in the...
You don't have to sing another song once you've played one.
Losing My Religion was their most famous song.
Well, that was a big song as well.
Losing My Religion, you know...
But that's, I mean, I'd be interested to see what your selections are going to be, because yours will probably be pretty much middle-of-the-road type kind of...
I don't think so.
Soppy type stuff.
And I'll tell you what I've done, just in case anybody's thinking. I banned myself from putting any Beatles records in it.
Thank goodness for that.
Okay? Yeah. Because I thought that, I'll get a bit of stick on that. But
you will.
So that's the first of your records.
That's the first of my selections.
These are records we are recommending to our millions of listeners for dance and romance on New Year's Eve. Not that...
Well, you may be doing that. I'm not recommending dance and romance at all.
Oh, so what are you recommending records to the listeners for?
Well, I'm just saying these are songs that I quite like, that if I was having a party, I'd be playing them.
Yeah, okay.
That's all.
Nobody'd come to a party you played that trash.
I'm not actually in the business of giving people advice, unlike you.
I see, right. Now then...
Let me read you this from Anthony, who says, I think the last time Porky sprinted anywhere, the dinner bell went at school, which I think is probably why you injured yourself so badly. And then Ryan says, didn't Porky once say breathing in exhaust fumes was actually good for you? I think you did at one point.
It can be. It's going to expand your lungs. A quick
I don't think it is, actually.
No, a quick bit of carbon dioxide, which is what comes out of an exhaust pipe, can honestly expand your lungs and open up areas of the...
we wouldn't want
the
to
lungular function that don't normally get
we wouldn't
touched.
We wouldn't want to recommend it, though, would we?
Yeah. Now, listen, this picture I put out, right, some people are saying that the crowd I put together don't look very happy. They're not supposed to look happy. They're supposed to look glum and
serious.
grim.
Because
it's about keeping old MG off the bladderation trail tonight. It's a community service.
I would bet you there's more chance of a couple of these people in the picture actually going out and getting themselves into trouble rather than me.
You think
because,
so?
They're young enough to go out and have a good time, whereas I've done all that and I don't really want to do it anymore.
Yeah, one guy here says, is that chap top left on the picture Andrew Lloyd Webber?
I don't think it is Andrew Lloyd Webber.
No, it's actually...
Is it Pete Abbott?
It's Pete Abbott, the newsreader.
I don't think he'd be terribly flattered to be likened to Andrew Lloyd Webber.
But I have to say, he has all the talent that Andrew Lloyd Webber's got.
Jason says half of them look bladder-rated already.
Just not £365 million
that's another
got.
Thing that the two people haven't got anything in common. Here's one from Ben who says... geography was never my strong point. I'm not sure what he means by that.
I don't either. Maybe you got something wrong.
Yeah.
One here that says, Porky, that dog really doesn't like you. I have a lab and I see the look of fear in that dog's eyes.
Yeah, I read that one out earlier.
Did you?
Yeah, this is why Ben says geography wasn't his strong point. Daniel Craig's from Chester and Welsh, but Porky's from Chester and English. Make your mind up.
No. Not at all. Now then, listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about, mate. We're talking about parties tonight and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
How come?
It's going to be crazed around here, by the way.
Oh, it's going to be mad.
In fact, I think they close off all the roads at about 6 o'clock.
We're getting out of here.
To get out.
We're getting out of here. Now, every New Year's Eve, every Christmas comes round. Yeah. Why do these interfering, meddling, no-hopers civil servants do things like this? Men will be advised to drink no more than a pint and a half of beer a day in the New Year health
Not
crackdown.
tonight. That's not about tonight. This is about...
New
this
Year
is
health
New Year.
crackdown.
Right, pint and a half a day.
Yeah, in a highly controversial move, daily alcohol guidelines will be cut so that lads are held to the same safe level cap as women, OK?
Yeah, why do they need to give advice?
I've no idea.
They spend an awful lot of money on it as well, don't they?
Yeah, currently men are... Now, hang on, where's this report? I've lost my page. Men are advised to not regularly drink more than 3 to 4 units a day, around 2 pints of 4% beer, OK?
Right, OK.
But that will
becoming very hard to find, actually, 4% beer.
Yeah, it is.
A couple of pubs that I've been to recently, everything's kind of over 4.5.
5.2%.
5.2, 5.5.
Yeah, seen that, yeah. But anyway, it says that will be cut to 2 or 3 units under new rules from the UK's chief medical officers due in January, while women's guidelines remain the same. It means anyone enjoying a large glass of wine, double gin and tonic, or 2 bottles of 5% premium lager would instantly break the rules, turning tens of thousands of men into at-risk drinkers. You will be classed at risk.
Yeah, but it's not really a rule, is it? It's just a recommendation.
Yeah, but what it means is when you go and see your doctor, if you're honest to him and tell him how much you're drinking, then according to government guidelines, you're at risk.
You are, yeah. Well, that's why you never tell the doctor the truth, isn't it?
I'd never tell the doctor the truth.
When was the last time a doctor asked you how much you had to drink?
Well, they ask me every time I go to Harefield Hospital for a check-up on my heart.
And what do you tell them?
Only 1/3 of my heart works.
And what do you tell them?
I tell them I drink bitter shandy.
Bitter shandy?
Yes.
What, 1 pint a day or something?
No.
You don't mention the wine?
What?
You don't mention the wine?
What wine?
The wine that you constantly drink.
What do you mean? What are you on about?
Well, you drink wine quite a lot, don't you?
Look, a couple of times this week, after we've finished work, we've had a couple of pints of beer.
Yes, we have.
I didn't see any wine in my hand.
No, but you do drink wine from time to time, don't you?
Very occasionally.
Why do you have to deny it?
Very occasionally over
There's
Christmas
nothing wrong
lunch
with
or
it.
something like that, right?
There's nothing wrong with it.
Now, this will effectively, says one expert, it will effectively cut men's recommended units from 21 to 14.
Right.
The news will dismay revellers preparing for tonight's New Year's Eve knees-up.
Well, I can tell you that if you go out there at about 11:30 tonight, it will be full of people who are completely and utterly drunk beyond any kind of normal measure of drinking.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's what people do.
Oh, no. Anyway, listen, fortunately, I've managed to find a response from a gentleman called Christopher Snowden, who is head of lifestyle economics at the Institute for Economic Affairs.
What does that mean, lifestyle economics?
It means, how you should run your life. Unfortunately, this guy is rather more sensible than these Burks from the government think tank policy. And he says, this grim news is not based on evidence. It looks like we're moving in a direction where in 10 to 15 years' time, the advice will be that there is no safe level and we should not drink at all.
Well, do you know what they tried to do in Scotland? They tried to put in this
state. That's the police
They
state.
tried to put in this minimum pricing for drinks so that people would have to pay more money. Therefore, somehow they would drink less. Didn't work. And now they've been told that it might actually be illegal anyway by the European Union.
Do you know what I saw, I think, in a supermarket the night when I was checking out? I looked to my left and there was like loads of surplus booze there from Christmas. I'm pretty sure you could buy 20 cans of Strongbow for £8.
I'm sure that's right. I was in this little supermarket.
But that works out at 40p a tin.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Well, I was in this place on the corner there, just opposite the tube station, picking up something. And they've got stacks and stacks of stuff, including, little gin and tonic in a can, Jack Daniels in a can, stuff that people could just drink on the street. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, it's one of the biggest industries in this country.
Yeah. Now, the government justify issuing drink warnings on the basis that, well, we don't want to waste public money on treating millions of people for drink disorders, right?
Because they say if they prevent loads of people from actually getting drunk and going to A&E, they save money. But there's no way to measure that.
Utter rubbish. It's utter nonsense. And the other thing is, what hypocrisy the government have when they load so much tax on alcohol. I mean, do you know, out of a bottle of whiskey, which can cost you, say, £22, about £18 of that is tax.
Is it?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure, but I think it is.
You're not sure?
No.
No. Well, maybe you're wrong then.
Oh, well, I'm not that wrong.
I think £18 of it is tax.
I think it is. Well, how much do you think of your litre of petrol is tax?
Well, I know that's very, very high.
72p, 75p, something like that.
75p.
It's outrageous.
So I don't think whiskey's quite as bad as that.
I think whiskey is pretty highly taxed. But anyway, look, that's. I knew that as soon as New Year's Eve comes round, you get bombarded with all those things. And another thing I found out, right? Because
it's also because they want people to make New Year resolutions. And if they tell them that they shouldn't drink as much, then that's what they'll do.
And I was studying my research journals last night. Public school pupils are to be given lessons in moderate drinking in the sixth form bar.
Why?
Well, it says leading public school headmasters have
They've already started drinking by the time they're in the sixth form, probably, haven't they?
I was a regular drinker when I was 15.
I know you were.
Yes.
That's why you've got such a problem.
No, I haven't got a problem.
Anybody can tell you, the younger you start, the worse it is.
No, it meant I got used to it at a very young age, and therefore handled it responsibly for the rest of my life.
You do handle it quite well, I must say.
Thank you. Leading public school headmasters have explained how they hope to encourage pupils to drink sensibly by allowing them to consume alcohol on the premises. The heads of Rugby School, that is some school, by the way. That is some school. Heads of Rugby School and Ampleforth College. Now, I think that's Britain's leading Catholic school, actually.
I think it is, yeah.
Said they hope that by teaching the teenagers how to drink in moderation, yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, you give a teenager, a few units of alcohol and say, right, in moderation, right. And under supervision, they will prevent them from going off the rails. That, I'm telling you, that is such a ridiculous policy.
Well, I mean, first they have to teach the teachers to drink in moderation.
Of course they do.
I mean, you see a lot of teachers out and about getting completely and utterly smashed because they have a very hard job, and at the end of the time, they at the weekends they like to get bladdered.
This is a bit of a shock. Ampleforth, which is Britain's leading Catholic school, we've agreed, right? It's got its own nightclub called the Windmill.
Has it?
It says it printed the sixth formers.
I have to say, have you seen the time, by the way?
Don't worry about that.
No, I am worried.
The venue is supervised by non-teaching staff, although the head or deputy often pop in at the end of the night to check there are no problems. Well, other public schools have offered similar establishments for pupils, including rugby, where pupils can attend the Crescent Club, which is based in the Sixth Form Centre.
Amazing.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, I went to the King's School Chester, a great school. We didn't have a boozer in the Sixth Form common room.
No.
Wish we did have.
Sounds like a very bad idea.
That would have been a brilliant idea.
Keep that thought for a moment because we've got lots more to do. We've got the Porky Quiz coming up a little bit later on. I'm predicting 3 out of 10. He's predicting 8 out of 10. Right? Very strange.
Well, it's volcanic and you don't get trees growing in. I've never seen any trees in Iceland. No, I haven't either. But anyway, look, the point is, I go there mostly, I have to admit, because I think Reykjavik's a great city. It's got great nightlife. It's got great bars. It's very wealthy and prosperous country, Iceland.
I've only really been in and out of the airport when I was flying over to America. We stopped there, went to the Blue Lagoon, did all that stuff.
Oh, no, I've stayed there for, weeks, a week at a time, actually, on 3 or 4 occasions.
Who'd you go with?
Depends who I'm with at the time. Depends who I'm with in my life at the time.
Did you always go with someone, or
Not
did
always.
you sometimes go alone?
Sometimes I went and met people there. You can do that.
Right.
Icelandic women are very beautiful, remember?
Are they?
Yeah. Now, let me just tell you this. What I was going to say is that I didn't really do a lot of the old, 4x4 stuff up and down the mountains and all that, Blue Lagoon or whatever.
Adventure, sort of holiday type stuff.
No, but I read a fascinating story this morning about a group of young men who did. What they decided to do was, 4 former boarding school pupils attempted to trek across Iceland in the winter, but they ran into a few problems.
It didn't go very well, did it?
Well, you say that, but I admire them enormously for the spirit of going for the challenge.
Well, you probably admire them because they went to public school, right?
I admire people who go to public schools because they have a good education, but I also admire people who go to comprehensive schools because they also make the best of their resources.
These are people you describe as top people. That's the kind of thing
I wouldn't
you would
say top people. What I say is I do believe there are certain forms of education in this country which breed character and give people the ability to do these things. Right. And all you can focus on is the fact they run into a few problems.
Well,
if you try and hike across Iceland in the winter, you will run into a few problems.
Well, I dare
Doesn't
say
mean
you'd
to
have
say
to
you
prepare
shouldn't
for
take
that.
up the challenge.
Well, luckily we've actually got one of the people who went on this trip on the phone right now. We're going to talk to him. Angus Dowie is the man right here. Angus, a very good afternoon to you.
Hey.
Hi, Angus. Hello, mate. Can you hear us okay?
Are you still in Iceland, Angus?
I can indeed. No, I'm currently in the Lake District for New Year.
Oh, excellent. Well done. Good stuff. Now, Angus, tell us a little bit, because you've probably seen the piece in the Times this morning, and they're taking the mickey out of you a bit, saying you ran into a lot of problems, you weren't well prepared. Tell me what was in your mind, you and your mates, when you decided to embark on this great adventure.
Well, all 4 of us are great friends. We've done various adventures by ourselves before with different groups of people, and Charlie had crossed Iceland in summer by himself, unsupported, and he really wanted us to come and join him in winter in what would be a far more extreme expedition, and we just wanted to challenge ourselves and find out what we were capable of, and also just to try and achieve something new and to try and inspire other people our age to know that they're capable of going outdoors and I suppose doing more than what is expected of them traditionally.
I mean, it's quite an ambitious thing to try and do. Was it a very expensive endeavour? Did you get it sponsored in some way, or did you have to come up with a lot of money?
Fortunately for us, I mean, we're all university students, so to an extent we're relatively skint at the moment, but we had some remarkable sponsors who have helped us enormously to get the expedition off the ground from what was essentially just a pipe dream. into what ended up being a superb reality despite what went wrong.
OK, that's excellent. Now, the thing is, Angus, you're coming for a bit of criticism to say that
can we not focus on what did go wrong? Because it might not have been their fault.
Well, I'm about to. I'm telling you come for a bit of criticism to say, the rescue services had to come out and help you out 2 or 3 times. Wouldn't that happen to anybody who embarked on this sort of adventure? Because you can't do it without knowing there is somebody there who's going to help if you get into trouble.
Well, firstly, I think the draw of adventures like these is the possibility that things will go wrong and that they're difficult. I mean, I don't think any of us would have been drawn to the adventure if we had thought that it was going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Secondly, when the climate is like it is in Iceland, there will be emergency services available, and if you get into trouble, ultimately they're there to.
Yeah, but it's not really probably very great for them to have to come out 3 times. They reckon that you were supposed to be walking 250 miles in 18 days. How far did you actually get?
Well, I myself didn't get particularly far. I only got about 35 kilometres because I contracted both a spiral and also a bacterial lung infection over the first few days. But it's true, ISAR did help us out. 3 times is the number, although I've read some places that it's 4. That's just factually incorrect.
Yeah.
But they did help us a number of times. But
what if they were to give you a bill for all the times they rescued you? Would you think that was fair?
If they were to give us a bill?
Yeah.
That's something that I've read from a number of magazines and newspapers who've come in to criticise us. I mean, ultimately, what we've done is we haven't gone out and done something completely and utterly impractical. We've taken the advice of ISAR at every opportunity. And I would just like to point out this fact, which seems to get everyone who's read about the expedition, which is that every time that we have received help from ISAR, it has been because we have been liaising with the organisation at the time, and they have suggested to us that it would be better for our health.
Yeah.
And for our safety, including the safety of them.
Angus, I'm totally on your side here. The organisation we're talking about are the rescue services in Iceland, OK? And the reason they're there is to help people like yourself. Iceland wants to attract people to Iceland as tourists, as adventurers, so they've got to have some backup service when guys like you become adventurous. I admire you enormously for what you've done, and if Angus, every time we set out to embark on something which was difficult, we said, well, I tell you what, we won't because we might fail or it might be difficult. We wouldn't have, Nelson wouldn't have set sail, would he, for Trafalgar? And Drake
it's not really on the same level as Nelson and Trafalgar, is it?
And Drake wouldn't have set sail to conquer really South America.
Mind you, Drake didn't have any rescue services to back him up if it all went wrong, did he?
Angus, I would say to you, congratulations, well done. Don't be put off by people like my broadcasting partner here, who's trying to put you down as a reckless adventurer. You're not.
Well, I'm not saying he's a reckless adventurer at all, but what I would ask you is what sort of preparation did you have and did you make? Because I understand your car actually broke down on day 1, didn't it?
Yeah, so I'll talk you through this. So we went out in summer to actually plan and scout the route. We did that in enormous depth, and when we met with ISAR a couple of days before our expedition, they described us as being unbelievably well prepared. Mm-hmm. That was the words of ISAR themselves. We were not in any way unprepared.
Brilliant.
And the car that broke down didn't break down. We essentially got stuck in a snowdrift. Fortunately, ISAR were already with us at the time due to the person who was driving the ISAR car being the brother of who drove us up from Reykjavik in the van. With us going on the expedition, we couldn't then drive back to Reykjavik because it was a rental.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, I mean, to look at the difficulty that we face, which is an anomaly in terms of weather we receive, you only have to look at the north of England. I mean, the weather that north of England has been facing over the last couple of weeks has been absolutely terrible. I mean, it's been an absolute disaster. But Iceland has had the same weather, and even with the storms the last couple of days, which is what forced the final end of the expedition, the UK's only caught the right wing of that storm. The actual main body of the storm had hit directly onto Iceland, and it would have been what would have been ill-informed and irresponsible of us to do would have been to stay out in the mountains and then potentially get into trouble where we are potentially going to die, and then call an ISAR when it's only going to endanger people who work for ISAR. So what we did was we said, okay, ISAR are correct here, but if they're going to pick it up, they should do it now before they get themselves in danger.
Yeah, well, I think you've done a brilliant job, Angus. Well done, and don't let it deter you from being adventurous throughout the rest of your life. Well done, my son.
Are you going to go back and do it again?
It's a bit early for that, I think, to start thinking about that. But I mean, all of us are very keen to go out and continue to explore and to learn more about ourselves. And I think there's a certain attraction to a challenge that you failed once before. But I mean, it would have to be. I mean, it would have to be very much a group decision, and also one that we would have to liaise with people in Iceland about, because the last thing we want to do is to cause any controversy or negative views upon tourism in the country.
Yeah, okay, okay. Well, Angus, well done.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, perhaps you will go back and perhaps you will be
curmudgeonly are you?
Well, it's not a question of being curmudgeonly.
You've got a couple of young lads, right?
It's not a question
You've
of being
got a son, he's 21, haven't you?
Yes.
Wouldn't you be proud of him if he came to you and said, Dad, we're going to hike across Iceland in the winter, it's never been done before? You'd just say, wow, well done, my son.
Well, I might say to him, is there a storm system coming through? Are you prepared enough for all of this stuff?
Didn't you hear what Angus just said? When they met, the organisation he was talking about, by the way, are called IceSAR, right? And IceSAR are the Icelandic Association for Search and Rescue, who told them when they first met them, you're unbelievably well prepared for this trek.
Well, maybe they were.
Goes wrong.
Maybe they were.
But I mean, if Shackleton, when Shackleton was trying to make his way from, to the South Pole, right, when he was trekking in minus 60 degrees, you're the sort of guy who would have said,
but he didn't have anyone to rescue him
You're the sort of guy who would have said, no, turn back, Shackers, because it's not going to work. That's what you'd have said.
You can't compare the two with any... We can't compare their trip with anything like that, because
of course you can.
When people were actually doing genuine exploration, basically, they didn't have any backup at all.
Well, I mean...
And that is bravery.
Yeah, but
this, to me, sounds a little bit like sort of some kind of, just... pastime for these guys.
What?
They didn't take it seriously at all.
I don't know how you can say that.
If I was working for the rescue company and you had to rescue them three times, that's ridiculous.
How mean is that? What a mean attitude you've got to young people. You've got 4 children. You would want them to explore the world and expand the challenges that they face in the world. And yet 4 young lads go out and do that. And all you can do is put him down on national radio.
I didn't put him down
I'm pretty ashamed of you today.
I asked him a couple of questions.
Mind you, I've been ashamed of you before.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in a very belligerent mood today, considering that it's New Year's Eve. You're supposed to be being nice to me.
We are the biggest sports station in the world. What's more sporting than taking on a hike across Iceland in the winter? That is sporting endeavour at its best.
Maybe you should take on some kind of hike back to wherever it is you came from.
You should take a hike, pal.
Thank you very much. We are the 2 Mikes as you talk sport.
What are you shaking your head for?
Because the idea of you in a sort of John Travolta-style white suit, romancing some poor, unfortunate soul. Shortly before being thrown out horizontally from the nightclub for bothering people.
What? Are you mad?
I mean,
Listen to this chorus here.
You could not be...
Yeah, listen to the chorus.
You are a tragedy. You are a tragedy.
Well, your life's been one tragic blunder.
Absolutely not. How about this from Roy, who says dance and romance?
Yes.
What does Porky know about either? When was the last time he danced or romanced?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to personal questions like that. The point is...
Well, if you're encouraging people to do it, I think you should be honest enough to come forward and say when the last time was that you actually danced.
We are selecting tunes, discs, songs.
6 each.
Well, for selecting them for our listeners. If they're having a New Year's Eve party tonight, I'm restraining. But I can't say for what MG's doing. And we thought we'd pick a few tunes for you to dance and romance to tonight, OK?
Yeah. I think if we were in the same house having some kind of joint party, I think we'd have 2 different rooms. Yeah. One with your music and one with mine.
Now, getting a lot of sympathy.
Now?
Well, because we're getting a lot of sympathy for young Angus there.
I haven't seen much sympathy for him.
A lot of people, saying you were brutal to these guys. These are young men who are going out on an adventure. You can't...
Read one of those out, then.
What?
Read one of those out that says I was brutal to him.
What do you mean?
You said there's a lot of people saying I was brutal to him.
Yes, they are.
Well, read one out.
Well,
then.
I can't find one because there's so many of them.
Because there aren't any.
No, there's so many of them.
I'll tell you what I found. Jennifer says this. Super posh Angus has never been skint in his life. Give Mummy and Daddy a call, honey, she says.
That's class envy.
Maybe.
That is just class envy.
Alan says Angus sounds a typical nice but dim toff.
Oh,
which is very
that's
harsh.
very nice, isn't it?
No wonder Porky's so full of admiration.
I don't know, honestly. I mean, sometimes I give up. The point is, just because, they come from a reasonable background, people having a go at them. I'm glad the lads did it, and I would support them next time if they did. And they came to me for sponsorship, I would try and help out.
Right. Well, we should pass that message on to
indeed.
Mike says those irresponsible oiks who embarked on an ill-prepared venture should be billed by the emergency services.
Well, hang on. He just explained to us that the Icelandic rescue services said they were unbelievably well prepared.
Yeah, but they had to rescue them 3 times. Those are the numbers. I mean, those are the stats, I'm afraid.
No. That's what they're there for. Now, let me ask you this. Do you suffer anxiety attacks?
No.
I think you do.
You think I suffer anxiety attacks?
Yes, I do.
On what basis would you say something like that?
Well, I think things happen to you in your life sometimes, and it stops you in your tracks and that kind of stuff.
No, I've never had an anxiety attack.
I do admit you have a very good way of hiding it. But listen, if you're not stopped...
I'm very relaxed about life.
If you're not stopped in your tracks by anxiety attacks, you should be.
Why?
Because it's good for you.
Anxiety attacks are good for you. Do you have them?
Well, no. You
don't have them?
Hang on. Yes. No. No. I hide them as well. What I do is I suppress anxiety by engaging my logical thinking pattern.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
What does that mean?
Listen, I'm about to tell you.
Go on.
Now, anxiety can act like a sixth sense. This is from my medical journals, okay? And it could save your life, right?
Well, anxiety affects people in many different ways. I mean, watching Monsieur Klopp on the sidelines last night. I mean, when the police got involved, what was that all about, by the way? Why were the police called into that kind of situation?
I've no idea.
But he was getting very exercised.
What were they even doing there? What are policemen doing on a football pitch, anyway?
Well, I guess there are police around any football game that's going on.
Years ago, right, at Goodison Park, you always knew when the referee was going to blow his whistle in 5 minutes, because out of one corner of the ground, all these policemen came... literally pouring out, and one of the lot turned right, the other turned left, and they circled the pitch.
And that's now done by stewards, isn't it?
That's now done by stewards, absolutely, because you know what? It used to come as a sort of free service from the local police service.
But then they started billing the football clubs.
They did, for thousands and thousands of pounds, you know. But it used to be a wonderful sight to see the cops coming out at the end of the game. And actually, that first started when I was, I don't know, about 6 or 7, the first game in the road. And in those days, there weren't any hooligans. Now, when it really got to...
There was just an awful lot of people, basically.
Awful lot of people, absolutely right. And maybe... And standing. There could have been 60,000 people standing in those days, you know what I mean?
And they didn't want them to get onto the pitch.
Didn't want to get on the pitch and all that kind of stuff and whatever. But then, of course, came the era in the 70s, 80s when hooliganism was rife in football grounds, and that's when the police were needed. That's when the police started charging, because it meant that instead of being there for 10 minutes at the end of the game, they'd been there for hours.
Well, because they had to police the arrival of the fans, they had to police the departure
railway
of the
stations,
fans, holding some of the fans behind so they didn't have to meet each other. I remember going to White Hart Lane and being sort of policed up one side of Seven Sisters Road by police horses, which was really frightening, because I was only about 10 at the time.
No, I totally agree. But anyway, get back to anxiety, right? So, for decades, this is what the research document says, it's been suggested that being in a chronic state of alertness is bad for health because it causes cortisol.
What's that?
Cortisol.
What is it?
It is the stress hormone, and it surges through the body, and it can damage cells in your body.
Right.
But if you've got too much of it...
So being stressed out is bad for you, then?
Well, it could be.
That's what they're saying.
No, they said that's what they used to believe, right? But it's also believed anxiety now could lead to oversensitivity to threat signals. No, it was believed. Right. It's not believed now. It was believed anxiety could lead to oversensitivity to threat signals that caused a permanent state of nervous excitement and may impair the body's ability to react quickly.
That sounds like you. You're in a permanent state of kind of nervous excitement, aren't you?
No.
You're always excited about something. You're running around, there's always something going on. You're worried about something, or you're happy about something. You are in a state of nervous excitement all the time.
I'm not in a state of nervous excitement. I'm in a state of life appreciation. Life appreciation.
Same thing.
And, I feel, how can I improve my life?
Do you feel stress?
Eh?
Do you feel stress?
Well, stress is good for you. I'm about to explain why. Now, a new study suggests there's a benefit to hypervigilant state. So, you think I've got a hypervigilant state?
I think you have, yeah.
Right, so, okay, so this is good. Hypervigilant state. Anxiety allows warning signals to quickly reach the regions of the brain, right? There are dead areas of your brain, by the way.
There's quite a lot of them in your head, aren't there?
I'm going to ignore that.
Okay.
Quickly reach regions of the brain that are responsible for action, triggering a surge of adrenaline and the fight or flight response, okay?
Yeah, that's all very well if you're living in a kind of, wild situation where you don't have a house, you don't have a car, if you're living, in the outback or something like that.
No, this is every day. Because
Fight or flight.
You see, yeah, fight or flight it's called.
Well, I don't get into fight or flight every day.
Now, hang on.
It doesn't happen.
You, by contrast, a laid-back person, you just told me you're laid back, right, are not so quick off the mark when they sense a threat. So you're under a bigger threat in life than I am because you can't spot danger.
What sort of danger are you talking about?
Researchers discovered the difference by monitoring the brain activity, OK? Yeah. And they looked at pictures of people displaying levels of threatening or placid behaviour. The human brain...
So this is just another one of these studies they've done in theory.
No, what they've done is...
By hooking a few people up to a computer.
No, I read the whole thing. What they do is...
It's unusual for you.
They sit a guy down in a chair, right, and then there's a walkway of about 20 yards in front of him, and they get a person to walk towards him, and that person's either got a sweet smile on their face or a rather aggressive,
that's what I mean. It's a study that's hypothetical. It's not about actual real danger.
But this does happen in life.
Well, no, but you can't recreate danger, can you? You can't
anyway.
actually make somebody feel as if they're in danger if they're sitting in a study.
Get this.
Yeah.
The human brain is able to detect threats in this region of the brain in a fast, automatic fashion in, guess what time? 200 milliseconds.
Really?
200 milliseconds for the person with a highly...
I can't imagine how long that is. How long is that? 200 milliseconds.
What do you think?
I don't know.
Well, it's 200 milliseconds.
I can't imagine. It was very quick, isn't it?
That is for people with the high vigilant gene. Did I say it was?
You didn't say that.
What did I say it was? Hang on. The brain activity, yes, that's right, yeah. Now...
Is there any brain activity going on inside your head at the moment?
Now, this could serve as an adaptive purpose for survival. This is the whole point, right?
Yeah.
And this comes, by the way...
Yeah, that's fine, but, you know, you live in southeast England. You're not really going to come up against a survival question every single day, are you?
And guess what? Anxiety shifts the neural coding of threat to motor circuits within the brain, which produce action from sensory circuits that surround the brain to help recognise faces.
So what?
So if you've got
would be what I would say.
If a person's got a threatening face... Yeah. And you've got a high level of hypervigilant state.
I think you've got too much time on your hands.
No, hypervigilant state. You can protect yourself from threat of somebody coming towards you. But if I can because I'm hypervigilant. Yeah. But you, because you're laid back, you'd be dead before you could move.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, we don't live in a very dangerous environment.
We do. Nutters come up to you around this part of the world every day. You've never seen nutters floating around outside railway stations and things like that?
Like people like you rolling about on the ground.
That's ridiculous. That was my calf muscle went. Exactly. But I mean, what I'm saying is you need to be aware of this, Mike, because, you are
need to be
a
aware
friend.
of the time.
You are a colleague. I do worry that you say you're laid back in life. I would agree you're very laid back and not vigilant to the threats around you.
No, I don't feel threatened at all.
That's been proved by this report I've just read to you.
Nothing's been proven by that.
I'm not trying to waste my time here by helping you out,
You've got too much time on your hands, obviously. Coming up, we're going to talk to Matthew Syed. I hope you don't try and get any of that nonsense over to him, because he's a very intelligent guy. He's a former Olympian, of course, and he's going to tell us about the dangers of actually being over-prepared for stuff. This is TalkSport.
She may be the face I can't forget, a trace of pleasure or regret.
It's another one of mine.
Maybe my treasure.
Well, I mean, that is such a bum song. Who's possibly going to respond to that?
It's a beautiful song. It's a love song.
What's the name of the guy who sang it? Charles Aznavour.
Charles Aznavour?
Yeah.
Well, it was Aznavour initially. This is actually Elvis Costello.
No, is it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, that's a really mushy load of nonsense.
It's from Notting Hill.
Now, who are we going to talk to now?
Have you not seen Notting Hill?
Yes, I have, and I thought it was a mushy load of nonsense.
It's the song they play at the end.
Love Actually was in the same genre, wasn't it?
Genre. It was indeed.
Yeah.
Well, try and keep your rather ridiculous attitudes out of this particular conversation we're about to have with Matthew Syed, because he's from the Times. Wrote a very interesting article yesterday.
Absolutely.
About preparation for sporting events and for sporting kind of excellence. And,
the Olympics.
The Olympics in particular. And he said, basically, if you're going to be going to the Olympics, do not copy what he did.
That's right.
Matthew, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. How are you, both?
Oh, very, very good indeed, Matthew. Thanks ever so much for coming on. I'm fascinated by the piece you read, as I am with most of the stuff you write, Matthew. And what I have to ask, the question here I have to put to you is this. Writing that piece and reading it, any prospective Olympian getting ready for the Games in 2016 must be put off or terrified of what the next 7 or 8 months is holding in store for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. As we were approaching New Year's Eve, I just rewound in my own mind in the column to the New Year's Eve of '99, approaching the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. And I just remember looking at the diary, and it was very carefully planned out, every single day, actually, from January through to September was either allocated very carefully and meticulously to resting, to training, or to doing some kind of physiological testing somewhere in the world. And it was all very rigorous, and it had been put together by my coaches and my various support scientists. And then, of course, after the Olympics, nothing at all. There was nothing in the diary. And the reason there was nothing in the diary afterwards is it didn't really matter. I wasn't bothered. The whole of my waking experience and a lot of my sleeping experience was all about one specific day. And that's the very deep and treacherous irony of being an Olympian, is that all of your days, all of your training, all of your life is a preparation for that one single moment. And the question is, do you cope or do you not? And the very fact that you prepare so hard and are so meticulous and so obsessive and neurotic, I think is one of the reasons that when I did compete in Sydney, I spectacularly fell apart.
I mean, that is an horrendous moment. All that preparation, you over-prepared, you were already a champion table tennis player, but your whole life burnt in in what, 20 minutes?
Yeah, it took about. It was a weird thing actually, because I played a German in that opening match, and just before walking out into the arena, I was told it was airing live on the Beeb. And of course, for small sports like table tennis, the Olympics is like doubly important, because it's your only chance ever to appear on network television. And I knew my parents were watching at home, and all my former school friends, and I saw the Union Jacks out there in the arena, and I, it was, well, the term that we use is choking, isn't it? When you just can't hold it together. And the equivalent, I suppose, is when you're giving a best man speech, or you've got a big speech to give and you can't remember your words. It was like that, but I just couldn't hit the ball. And funnily enough, in 2012. The build-up to the home Olympics, the One Show, the BBC television programme, were doing a feature on pressure, and because they were trying to figure out what it would be like for our Olympians on home soil. They phoned me up and they said, we're doing a feature on choking and what it's like to throw your life away. And would you like to lead it for us?
Well, I suppose it's nice to be remembered for something, but obviously not
exactly,
that. Presumably when you were presented with this big, sort of plan of action for the next several months before you went to Sydney, you didn't really necessarily know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, because you were taking everybody's word that this was the preparation you should do.
Yeah, well, and this is really the key, is I think that all Olympians who are building up need to have a detailed plan. They need to live it and to breathe it. But they also need, and this is something I lacked that year, this is a crucial thing, they also need to be able to flick a switch at the end of training, at the weekends, on their rest days, and forget about the fact that the Olympic Games is coming up, because otherwise it becomes all-consuming. I mentioned in that column that you kindly referred to, Paula Radcliffe. I think she had the same kind of meltdown where, in the build-up to her big Olympic moment, she couldn't hold down her food, she wasn't digesting it, she couldn't sleep, she took her ice bath, and instead of coping with it as she normally did, she would shake uncontrollably. It just got too much. And I think the human mind, I'm not saying it's a fragile thing, it isn't, it's a robust thing, but I think if all of its energy is directed at one thing and it doesn't have any let-off moment at all, it can prove all too much. And that's that really difficult balance, I think, that needs to be struck by elite Olympians.
OK, so would you say, Matthew, from your own personal experience, that often people like boxing trainers, people like coaches in football say the game's as much as about mental strength as it is about physical strength? Would you then adhere to that? I know that table tennis isn't necessarily a hugely physical sport, but...
Why would you say that?
Well, in the sense that...
Have you ever played table tennis?
Yes, I have.
Well, I mean proper table tennis. I don't mean like with a ping-pong bat.
No.
Against people who are smashing the ball at you.
Yeah, I agree, but at least you haven't got a bloke who weighs 18 stone trying to knock your head off your shoulders for 45 minutes. And what I'm saying is, Matthew, do you accede to that now, that the mental strength is equal to the physical strength?
Yeah, but the mental strength, I mean, when you go out to perform or to compete, you need to be tough, you need to be courageous, you often need to be cool as well, you need to be dispassionate and make the right tactical judgment. So the point that I'm making is that psychology we often think of as being able to perform under pressure, perhaps, or the other aspect is about being committed so that you can train hard for long periods during the long winter months in the build-up to an Olympic. But there's another bit too, which is being able to let go from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, it's a multifaceted. You know, psychology isn't a one-dimensional thing. There's lots of little bits that go into it, I think. And I definitely that big year for me in 2000, got one key component very badly wrong.
Golly.
Well, you also made a reference to even not being allowed to go to kind of, places where you would maybe eat something that would ruin your training regimen because you might get food poisoning. I mean, it's quite
a handshake
rigid.
that might give you influenza.
It's quite rigid, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's worth remembering, that level of neuroticism, I mean, that's quite common with Olympians. So, during 2012, the British Olympians were given a whole range of pieces of advice about not shaking hands because, you get a bug. Yeah. You get a bug 2-3 weeks before an Olympic Games and you miss a couple of days of preparation and you're slightly off your game on the big day, you're screwed. 1% margins are above. And that's why Team Sky hoover every room for dust and microbes before, during each stage of the Tour de France. They have advanced parties that go in and clean out the rooms. They also all use antibacterial hand gel. They have a doctor who they're very careful about, for example, rubbing their noses in case they get sinus infection. They've got a whole range of things that may sound pedantic, but when the difference between winning and not winning can be on very fine margins, you want to get all of these things right. Now, the question is, if you've got all of these things that you're doing all the time, you're guarding against germs and infection and eating the wrong food. I mean, remember Michael Johnson got food poisoning, the sprinter, before the Olympics in Barcelona. He didn't even qualify for the 200 final. That was a guaranteed Olympic gold, screwed because he ate in a restaurant which was unfamiliar. What a huge mistake.
God, absolutely.
So all of these, if you spend 4 years of your life for one day, you're not going to want to eat in a restaurant that's unfamiliar any time at all in the month before that event. So it's worth remembering that you could almost call it institutionalized neuroticism. Sure. That's what it's like to be an Olympian.
It really is. But also, having got all of this preparation, down pat and having a regimen to follow from one day to the next for months and months and months, is there any way to actually prepare for that moment you described when you walk out and you're suddenly hit with this incredible pressure because you've got whatever it is, 20 minutes to either make it or break it? I mean, can you be prepared for that?
I think you can be prepared. I mean, look, I don't want to exaggerate it. I mean, it's a very similar question, actually, to can you prepare to take a penalty in the World Cup?
Right.
And do you remember, for a long time, the view of coaches was either you've got it or you haven't. There's no good practicing it. Either you've got the mentality to do it or I think that's not quite true. You can build up mechanisms that help you to stay in the moment and not get carried away or for the heart to race away with you. And, certain things that Olympians do is they will, in their training sessions, they'll compete with high stakes, artificially high stakes. Right. So they just begin to develop the mechanisms, retaining positivity, deep breathing, visualization, the classic, or to take the methods used by Steve Peters, being able to control the chimp. There's all these different things are basically practical ways of being able to deal with your fears, your anxieties, and your demons on that big moment.
Yeah, that's an interesting...
And you can practice it for sure.
Well, the demons is the question I wanted to ask you about now, because I've got this theory about Tiger Woods, which is that when his lifestyle changed, i.e. he was discovered to have been doing an awful lot of stuff that nobody had any idea he was doing, he stopped doing it altogether. And he never really was able to play the same kind of golf as he did before. And I'm wondering if part of his extracurricular activities kind of helped him.
Do you know, it's funny that. I very nearly wrote, sort of along the lines that you're suggesting, a column for the Times saying, if Tiger Woods would win again if he started getting laid a bit more often.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to put in a slightly more delicate way.
Yeah, quite. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I've thought about Woods, and I don't know if you guys have, I've never actually sat eyeball to eyeball with Woods and interviewed him, and I'd love to do that. So I don't feel I know him well enough to offer a definitive view. My hunch on Woods is that a lot of his self-esteem and identity as a golfer was bound up in his public image. This image of the mixed-race kid who had dominated what had been a white-only sport and was associated with all of those virtues of work ethic and nerve under pressure. And when he stalked that final round, if he was at the top of the leaderboard, he felt invincible. And the other the other golfers were very awed by Woods. Yeah. And I think that those stories and the ridiculousness of his situation, the deceit, people were laughing at him. Jay Leno and the late night talk show hosts, he was a figure not of awe and respect and excellence and admiration, but a figure of comedy, of ridicule, and for a lot of middle America, of contempt. And I just think that his whole self-image at that point was threatened. Yeah. And I know that he's had injuries, and I know that a lot of the golf writers think that that's the main reason why he hasn't won a major for so long. Personally, I think it's psychological. Yeah. I don't think his own self-image has ever recovered.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, Matthew. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much indeed.
Matthew Syed from the Times. Fascinating stuff, that. We may have to explore a bit more of that coming up.
Well, I mean, it all coincides with the medical journals that I read, with the, Matthew said that, the aspirations people have in life. All this I've been trying to tell you for years and years, and now you get it from an expert.
Yeah, because he puts it much more intelligently than you do. What? But we'll talk some more about it coming up next on TalkSport.
What are you laughing at?
This is your second choice, I take it.
Yes, it is, yes. Yeah.
Donna Summer.
Donna Summer, Give Me Love.
I Feel Love,
I Feel Love, that's right, yeah. Don't you think it's a fantastic song? I mean, come on, for dance and romance on New Year's Eve, eh?
No.
Eh?
No.
What do you mean, no?
I mean, what are you, Jason King or something?
Well,
I mean, you're in a white double-breasted suit.
Certainly not
Get
Jason
out of a
King.
Ford Cortina.
But I mean, come on, man, come on.
Wearing a medallion.
Listen, in my disco days, when this came on, women...
I don't want to think about
women would melt, they would...
I'm sure they'd rather set themselves on fire, to be honest.
Set on fire,
they'd actually dance with you.
No.
Did you ever find anyone who was actually not as short as you? I was going to say somebody that you could dance with that wasn't taller than you.
What a silly question. I'm not going to answer that question.
Well, no, but in heels, most women are taller than you.
Yeah, okay, so they are. But I used to wear stacked heels, actually, in those days, funny enough. Yeah,
right.
Everybody did.
Must be hard to dance in.
No. They were called, what were they called? Platform shoes,
yeah.
That's right, that kind of stuff.
So,
anyway,
so Tragedy was from, the 80s, early 80s, was it? Late 70s?
Yeah, but hang on. These records have longevity, you know that.
Yeah.
I mean, if they didn't have longevity...
They're all your songs from the disco era.
Hang on, if they didn't have longevity, how come that the favourite Christmas song of Christmas just gone was I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas? When was that recorded?
Crosby.
Yes, exactly.
Are you sure that was the favourite song?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So don't give me all this gobbledygook.
Well, as I said to you, I'm not at all surprised that you've so far picked the Bee Gees and Donna Summer, highlighting your appalling taste in music.
I don't think so. I think you find most people will agree with me. Your records were unrecognisable, and people don't like unrecognisable records on New Year's Eve.
So far I've had R.E.M., Led Zeppelin and Elvis Costello.
Yeah, but I mean, R.E.M. wasn't even a popular record. I said to you, Stairway to Heaven's not a record you can play at a party and get people up and dancing and moving on the dance floor. Now, you know that I have done research into Albert Einstein before, don't you?
I know you've done that before because you tried to compare him to Wayne Rooney, didn't you?
I got a professor of psychology at Oxbridge, right?
Oxbridge? Oxbridge where?
I think it was Cambridge.
Oxbridge?
No, I think it was Cambridge.
You should have mean Uxbridge.
I can't remember if it was Oxford or Cambridge, so I called it Oxbridge. I think it was Cambridge.
But he was a man of high learning, was he?
Oh, yeah, very high learning.
What was his name? What was his name?
Well, that doesn't matter.
It does matter.
No, I'm not going to bore the audience with details like that.
I could look up his pedigree.
No. Anyway,
tell me his name.
He, in my book Rooney Tunes, okay, the book about
which is
Wayne
now
Rooney,
available for 1 penny on Amazon.
As are millions of books on Amazon.
You can buy 100 of them
because they have a lot of surplus books.
You can buy 100 of these books for £1.
Let me get on.
That's what you can do.
The point is, I proved that Wayne Rooney's
it's actually cheaper than buying wood for the fire.
I proved that Wayne Rooney's brain could, in fact, be more efficient than Einstein's because when a ball comes over from the corner and he's got to...
How did you actually prove this?
Because if a ball comes over from a corner, he's got to steer it into the goal, he has got to think about the wind shear effect on the ball, the spinning of the ball, the motion of the ball, velocity of the ball,
Klopp should have a word with him about the wind,
speed in direction.
Yeah.
Then, when he has to change direction of the ball, with which part of his anatomy is closest to the ball, his foot, his head, his chest.
Is this not all done by instinct?
Hang on.
For footballers.
When then he connects with that moving orb, that moving object, he's then got to propel it into a different direction. But then, this is all happening in 1/10 of a second, a split second, he's got to work out how many inanimate...
He's not working anything out,
Hang on.
He's not working anything out. He's just doing it by instinct.
How many inanimate objects stand between him and the back of the net, which is the eventual target? Now,
inanimate objects?
Yes.
Like what?
Defenders.
They're not inanimate, are they?
They are inanimate as far as he's concerned in that 1/10 of a second.
In which case they're not human.
In 1/10 of a second.
Inanimate.
Now, listen, the reason I'm asking you this is because...
I'm interested in how you think you proved it.
What?
How did you prove that his brain was working like
I told
that?
you, I spoke to a Cambridge professor about it, and he agreed with me.
Whose name you can't remember.
It doesn't matter about that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So you've got a guy to say something, and you wrote it in a book.
There are a lot of professors at Cambridge, that's all I can say.
But that doesn't prove anything.
And it's a high seat of learning. Yeah. Now then, what's happened is now, because I keep an eye on matters relating to Einstein for this very reason, is that they've lost Albert Einstein's eyeballs.
What?
They've lost Albert Einstein's eyeballs. They've gone missing.
Who's lost them?
The pathologist.
The eyeball keepers.
No. Thomas Harvey, the pathologist on call after Einstein died. He died on the evening of April the 17th, 1955.
Right. Presumably the pathologist in question is not still around, is he?
Princeton Hospital. No, he's not. Princeton Hospital. We know where Princeton Hospital is, don't we?
Yeah, Princeton.
Exactly. That's right, yeah.
Thank you.
And
Which
he died...
is in New Jersey, for those who don't know.
He died of New Jersey, that's right, yeah. He burst of an aortic aneurysm.
Pardon?
Aortic aneurysm.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
He died of a burst, I thought you said.
Yeah, well, that's... aortic aneurysm...
Are you having one of those now?
Hang on. It's a burst blood vessel. So he died of a burst blood vessel. Right. Now then, what happened was...
So did his eyes pop out then?
No. What they did is, a few days later...
Do you mean they lost his eyes way back then?
Yes.
In 1955?
The search is on for them. I'm going to tell you a story if you just shut up and let me get on with it.
You think they'd have called it off by now?
The audience are waiting to hear this.
2015.
Now, what happened was Einstein's son...
How long are they going to keep looking for him?
Einstein's son, who was called Hans Albert, stipulated that the study of Einstein's brain be conducted solely in the interest of science, and he allowed the brain to be taken out, OK?
Right.
So that any scientific journals, reputable scientific journals, like the ones I read, would be able to, focus on the great man and where he got his intelligence from, right?
Analyse his brain, yeah.
Now, what happened was instructions were issued regarding his remains.
Right.
The cremation took place, but then they found that somebody had removed Einstein's eyeballs. And they
Why?
Presumably for research, I would imagine.
Uh-huh.
So, and they were given...
Did he have particularly good eyes?
This is irrelevant, and you're mocking it.
No, I'm not.
And
I'm
getting fed up.
Why would you need the eyes?
This is such an interesting story. Just let me tell it, right?
OK, go on.
Now, what happened was they were given to Henry Abrams, who was Einstein's physician.
Right.
OK?
It's a long story, this.
No, it's not a long story. But then the pathologist, Harvey, got the sack from Princeton.
Harvey?
Yeah. Because he wouldn't give up Einstein's eyeballs. So
Harvey had them all the time?
And the brain. So one of the...
So there's no mystery, really, then?
No, what happened was, for decades after that, Harvey kept Einstein's brain in a jam jar.
A jam jar?
Yeah, in a jam jar.
Must have been a rather large jam jar.
Which in itself went into a cider box.
Cider?
Which in itself formed the base of a beer cooler, believe it or not.
What?
Yeah, honestly.
So he hid this thing basically inside a keg of beer?
Yeah, basically.
Like a Russian doll effect.
Yep. Now then, what Harvey did is...
time, by the way.
What Dr. Harvey did, don't worry, is he cut Einstein's brain into 240 separate pieces, right?
Why?
Well, I'm just getting
240?
Yeah, 240 separate pieces.
Yeah.
And he sent a piece of the brain to 240 different researchers around the world, hoping that one of them would come up to the ultimate conclusion about his genius. OK?
That was a stupid idea, wasn't it?
No, the remainder...
That's an idiotic thing to do.
No, it's
Surely
not.
you can only analyse the whole brain, not a bit of it.
No. Here, listen. The remainder of the brain went to the pathology department of Princeton Hospital, and bits of it can be viewed there today. Now,
bits of it?
Yeah. Einstein's eyes...
I'd like to see a bit of Einstein's brain, please.
Hang on.
Step this way.
Hang on. Einstein's eyes were kept by Mr. Abrams.
So they haven't disappeared at all?
Hang on. Who was he? Who was Abrams? Oh, he was the Einstein's physician, right?
Right.
Although periodically they are rumoured to be up for imminent auction. And
his eyes are?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
You said they were missing.
No, this is the problem. Now, according to Abrams...
The problem is that we've got to do the news in a minute.
Hang on a sec. Albert Einstein...
this won't be on the news.
No, for the remainder of Einstein's body, it was moved briefly to a funeral home.
I thought he was cremated.
Yeah, he was. This was just after his death. Then to crematorium in Trenton, New Jersey.
Go for a lie down.
The problem is that what they're worried about now is that Mr. Abrams
Is he still alive, this guy?
Yeah, he's about to die. This is the problem.
How do you know?
And everybody's worried what's going to happen to Einstein's eyeballs when he goes, because he hasn't told anybody where they are.
Well, so he's hidden them. Are they not in the beer keg?
That seems to be the case.
No,
That's where the brain was, in the jam jar.
Right.
Seriously.
So the eyeballs aren't in there?
No.
Sure, well, if anyone's seen them, give us a call.
Don't be ridiculous.
08717 223344. Even if you only find one of them, I suppose that'd be better than nothing,
come on.
it?
Why can't you take anything seriously?
I can't take anything you say seriously.
I
It's the most
don't know
ludicrous
why.
story you've ever told.
No, it's not. I try to fill in the gaps and knowledge which people have.
Tell me more about it.
You just
after
can't
the news.
appreciate it.
No,
You can't appreciate it.
I can't appreciate it. This is TalkSport.
Babe, I got you, babe. I got you, babe. They say our love won't pay the rent before it's served. Our money's always spent. I guess that's so we don't have a lot. At least I'm sure of all the things we got.
You actually look like Long John Silver coming in now with that limp.
I'm telling
it's getting worse.
It is. It's very painful, but I just tend to grit my teeth and get on with it. You know what I mean?
I've got some good news for you. We're going to get an expert coming on to tell you how you can fix it up.
That'd be great.
That's another one of my songs, by the way. Do you like this one?
Is that Bob Marley?
No.
Who is it?
It's UB40 with Chrissie Hynde.
Oh, right, OK, yeah. I know Chrissie Hynde. She did Back in the Chain Gang.
That's right, The Pretenders.
And UB40, weren't they named after... You're going to laugh when I say this. Weren't they named after a plank?
What?
The form?
No, they were named after the form that you had to fill in when you were unemployed.
Oh, right, OK.
UB stands for Unemployment Benefit.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise that. There was a group that were named after a plank.
A plank?
And I think they were called 4B2.
Yeah.
Is that right? Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
So 4B2 is a plank of wood.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought they were the same lot.
No.
No, OK.
No.
I think they're the same manager, though.
It's easy to mix up your acronyms.
It is, yeah.
Do you know the significance of this song?
Well, I assume it's a load of guys who were out of work drawing the dole and then suddenly used their talents and their hard work to make themselves something by forming a group.
No, you've forgotten the significance of this song.
What do you mean?
Because you probably don't remember the last time you heard it.
Huh?
Do you remember the last time you heard that song?
No.
No. It was at my wedding.
No, you're
that
joking.
was the song that I danced to with my new wife.
What, the first song after you got married?
Yeah.
What, at the reception?
Yeah.
In Bob Smith's loft?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
My God.
That was the song we danced to.
Well,
and you were there.
Yeah, I know it was, but how would you expect me to remember that?
Well, because I would have thought you haven't been to very many weddings in your life, and that one I would have thought was quite significant.
Mike, you've been through so many...
I've only been married once.
Relationships and breakups since that
I've only invited
day.
you to one wedding.
Probably about 30 years ago, was it?
What? It was in 1987.
So that's... Oh, that's 28 years ago. 28 years ago, or nearly 29. Well, how do you expect me to remember that from all that time ago?
Well, because I would have thought it was a big thing for you. Now, how about this? We've got lots of people texting in response to your amazing story about Einstein's eyes. Chris from Slough said, I think I've just seen Einstein's eyes on the M4 hanging from a mirror in a car. Thought you'd like to know.
See, people take the mickey because you don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't take the mickey, and if you said this is a fascinating scientific scenario...
But it's not, though, is it?
It is. It is. Everybody likes it.
Here's one from somebody who doesn't give a name. Found his eyeballs. They're sitting in Mike Parry's garage with pickled eggs inside with a false beard and glasses.
Honestly, you see, you get all this now. This says...
Fifi says, our vet has a jar with 3 eyeballs in it. Do you think Porky would be interested in that?
Honestly. You see, Toby here says, how much has old Porky had? Says Toby. I mean, I try to do it, and I try to...
try to bring these stories to life.
Yes, I do, and I try to educate the millions of people who listen to TalkSport. Remember, although we're the biggest sports station in the world, we have to broaden out into other areas of life.
Absolutely,
yeah,
including Einstein's eyes.
Yes.
Now, talking of broadening out things into what happens with your life, you've got a terrible calf injury right now, which seems to be getting worse. We're very delighted to say we've got Joe Ranson on now, who's the physiotherapist at Charlton Athletic. So you've got the best advice coming to you.
I tell you what.
So take it very seriously and be very nice to him.
I'm very grateful. I really am.
Joe, very good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, you okay?
Yeah, well, I'm
indeed.
okay, but Porky thinks he's got a sort of Vincent Kompany-esque injury. I can't imagine how he got a Vincent Kompany-esque injury because he doesn't look anything like an athlete at all.
Well, I certainly don't. But, Joe, thanks very much for coming on. And actually, calf muscles are in vogue at the moment with the Vincent Kompany situation. I'll tell you exactly I'll tell you exactly what happened. I'm a member of a duck conservancy. We were feeding the ducks yesterday morning. Wind blew my bag of food away for the ducks. So I just literally picked up a bit of pace and, it just went. But it went as like, an unpleasant sort of pull. So for the rest of the day, I put a bit of heat stuff on it and I kept it, under control. Now, this morning, coming out of the back of Waterloo Station in London, I had to start picking up a bit of pace when the lights changed on a crossing. And as I did, I'm not joking, Joe, it was like somebody had got a rapier knife and stuck it through the back of my calf. It was incredibly painful, and I couldn't put any weight on my foot and still find it difficult to do so. What do you think I've done?
So you're getting the pain more mid-calf, or is it lower down?
Oh, no, mid-calf.
Okay. Hate to break it to you as well. What you done first of all was probably the worst thing you could have done. Heat, contrary to belief, is probably the worst thing you could do.
Idiot.
Really?
It's a cab driver told you to do that, was it?
No, he told me to take paracetamol. Well, I thought the whole idea, Joe, was it didn't matter if it was heat or whether it was ice, as long as it stimulated the nerve endings around that bit of damaged muscle.
Well, normally what we say is for the first 24 to 72 hours, you'd want to really use ice.
Right.
Because it help with the reducing of the hematoma. Because obviously if you're putting heat to the area, it's encouraging the bleeding site.
Yes.
That's also, you've got good advice for saying paracetamol, because sometimes people say ibuprofen, which again for the first 24 to 72 hours I'd pretty definitely advise against, because it again covers the bleeding area where you encourage it to kind of prevent that.
Right.
But what he said to us yesterday was that by the end of the day yesterday it seemed to be
all right.
Not painful, and it seemed to have improved, but then he obviously exacerbated it earlier on today.
I mean, what have I done, Joe? You keep talking about bleeding. I don't see any blood or anything. You're telling me I've torn something and it's bleeding internally?
Well, sometimes you can get like an internal bleed. Sometimes it is present sometimes on superficial skin, see bleeding. Depends how bad the tear is.
Yeah.
Most of the time, to be fair, you won't see anything visually.
Oh, I see.
To walk on it and to stretch on it, you'll probably get discomfort.
Yeah.
But my advice, particularly for the next 2 or 3 days, would be...
Should I just shoot him, Joe? Would that be easier?
Just chop it off.
Just shoot him or have it amputated.
Put me down.
Start again, yeah.
Put me down like a horse. I mean, the thing is, Joe, you don't often hear about calf injuries. You hear about hamstrings all the time. You hear about groin strains and all that. Is it a relatively rare injury for a footballer? Because there's so much muscle there. Does it have its own sort of protective layer?
Well, normally in that area, I'd say if you're going to have any injuries, it's normally the Achilles area. You'll normally get a tendinopathy, or you get like a complete rupture. The calf's kind of one which you don't see as much in the industry. Like, so the hamstring is normally the one, the groins are more popular.
Yeah.
But like I said, the calf might be, for example, where you're not conditioned to doing those movements, or that sudden change, you're just predisposed to it.
I see.
It's not conditioned to do anything really in any way, which is physical. While we've got you on, Joe, can we ask you a bit about Vincent Kompany?
Yes.
Because story in the back pages today saying that they're going to give him a full body scan. They're going to try and find out why he keeps injuring his calves. It might be something to do with his lifestyle.
Look at the design of the seat in his car. Look at the shoes that he wears. All this kind of thing.
But there's so many predisposing factors nowadays, and like I said, especially if they've looked at the basic ones, they've obviously now got to look a little bit more in depth, because someone of his value, they can't keep saying, "Oh, he's getting injured." So that's probably the reason behind that, and that's just for you as well. Like if your calf is struggling, you can always put like a little bit of an inner sole in your shoe, because it literally will offload that calf a little bit.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, is he looking at a long period of convalescence, do you think, Joe?
Potentially. It doesn't sound significant enough, the fact that you can walk without crutches and you're able to weight bear.
Oh, I'm hobbling though, Joe. I'm hobbling. Believe me. I mean, my very sympathetic broadcasting colleague here has just started calling me Long John, as in Long John Silver.
Long John Silver, not Long John.
Yeah. So I am hobbling around. It is very painful, but I'm trying to grimace and say nothing. But are you saying that by putting weight and pressure on this, I may be exacerbating the problem?
No, my advice always would be to be like early load. So if you can load on it early and pain-free, then definitely do that. Because a lot of times people will avoid it and then you'll start limping and you'll get secondary problems in your hip and your back.
I'm standing on that one leg now. Oh,
you're such a...
Oh, that's painful.
You're such a plank, you really are.
Well, if in a round, then it'd probably be better to get your leg elevated with like some ice underneath it for like 15-20 minutes at a time. And long as you have like 2-hour gaps in between, you should be fine.
Problem he's got is he hasn't got any ice at home because he doesn't know how to defrost his freezer and it's knackered.
I did have a bit of a problem with that, but I'll buy some at the supermarket on the way home. That's a good idea. Yeah, okay.
Get your frozen peas on the go.
Okay, Joe, whilst you're on, and you may not wish to comment on this, but I'm constantly amazed at the Jack Wilshere story, that he may not now be back until the end of February, maybe March. You know, the lad has had so much bad luck. Are some footballers, because this has been put to me as an amateur theory, just not built to play football because they say Jack Wilshere might have bandy legs, which causes him a problem?
I think the thing with someone like Jack is the fact that he's obviously gone through so many injuries at a young age.
Yeah.
And like I said, some injuries are not ones that literally will just go. They're going to be ones that are always present. And the demands of the game nowadays is such like a high force on the body.
Yeah.
So you need to be at your 100% peak a lot of times. So if you're not reaching that, then you're always going to be struggling, I think.
Right, okay. Well, that's
and there's some injuries are like management injuries. They're not necessarily going to be... Yeah. They can go, all right, they'll be like a hamstring and be back in, say, 4 to 6 weeks, worst case, where someone like with more of an ankle joint problem, they might have little flare-ups every now and then, and they might have to manage their training load.
Right.
They might have to... So that type of thing. I think that's generally the way that he's been managed, I'd guess.
I see. Okay. Fine. Okay.
Well, listen, Joe, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to us. Have a great new year.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll speak to you in 2016.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Cheers, Joe. Thanks very much indeed. I hope you appreciate that because
very much
very,
so.
very useful information.
Joe Ranson, yeah.
Sounds like you've got a problem.
Physio at Charlton. Well, he said, unless I heard wrong, he said, no, put weight on it immediately.
Yeah.
And then that will, sort of take a bit of the sting out of it.
Yeah, because that's what you need to do. You need to, if you don't use it and you keep it kind of, in some way static, then that will be worse.
Believe me, you've got to grit your teeth when you put weight on it. It is very painful.
Right. Well, I don't have to carry you around.
Well, you don't have to carry me around. Listen, mate, I've been dragging you around behind me for the last 25 years. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Step outside, summertime's in bloom. Stand up beside the fireplace. Take that look from off your face. You ain't ever gonna burn my...
This is the first decent song you've picked.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Is that as best you can do? Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm a bit fed up
the Bee Gees
trying
tragedy,
to mock my musical taste.
After the Bee Gees tragedy, Donna Summer, I Feel Love.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Disco's here, disco's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what would you have at your party then?
Well, I'm very disappointed in you, Michael, because you said no Beatles.
It had to be
It would be a Beatles fest.
Well, mine would as well, but the point is, I have an expansive mind towards the audience, our millions of listeners. They're not all great Beatles fans. So in my own home, my own penthouse...
you'd have 6 Beatles songs, would you?
I'd have 60 Beatles songs tonight.
Right. Well, I might be coming around to your place then.
I'd just put on the old, the Beatles number ones, the new Beatle videos, which my mum and dad bought me... Well, my dad didn't actually, my dad for 30 years. But my mum bought me for Christmas.
That'd be some trick. Maybe he's got Einstein's eyes. When did he die?
No, that'd be ridiculous. Which my mum bought me for Christmas, the old videos. I'd just bang home, and I'll be quite happy at home tonight, no problem at all.
Well, that's where you spend every other night, so why would it be any different?
I'm not even going to address that.
There.
And anyway, Mike G,
yes.
I've just visions of you listening to the show on the way and the road to bladderation.
That's right. Yeah.
We're on the road, leaving a trail of...
Oh, no, it's that Talking Heads song.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he, for some reason, has decided that I'm going out on the Raz, which I'm not doing. I'm absolutely not doing.
Well, look, he's aware that much together. He's concerned.
Yeah, of course I am. We've got a committee here now. They're called...
There's nothing worse than having him as a friend.
Called the MG Missionary Squad, right? We've put them together here to keep an eye on him tonight, otherwise we won't have a show tomorrow, will we?
Yeah.
There's method in our madness.
There's no method in your madness. Anyway, Mickey, very nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
What's coming up on the drive?
Right, 4 o'clock we're going to talk a bit of Liverpool on the back of the win last night.
Are you going to talk about the wind?
Well, there was no wind in the end.
Oh, right.
Stormfrank blew...
That's why they won then.
Blew through, yeah. But it was a poor game. Lots of... contradictions about Liverpool.
But he missed more than he scored, you see.
He did, yeah.
The one-on-one there with Benteke, I mean, if you want a striker to bring you points to challenge for a Premier League title, he's going to have to beat the goalkeeper.
Well, I had no fingernails left. I mean, he could have buried that. He did a one-on-one with the other day, so we're going to talk Benteke, we're going to talk Liverpool. Loads of contracting views. Jamie Carragher thinks Liverpool will not finish in the top 4. In such an open season.
He said that, yeah.
I think a little bit of tweaking, maybe some new personnel January, they got every chance of finishing in the top 4. So we're going to throw that out there. Arsenal, no Adrian Durham, obviously on drive time. Right. So, an Arsenal question. on the back of Man City, we got stuck into them last night. Arsenal surely won't have a better chance of winning the Premier League this season.
Like in any season since they last won it, you're absolutely right.
Well, but just with it being so open, no one to blame this season.
And they're at least as good, if not better, than any other team.
Yeah,
I think Spurs can win it this season. I mean, I've always been a big critic of Mr. Levy.
Jinx, then.
Yeah, I've always been a big critic of Mr. Levy throwing money around, like the £90 million they got for Bale. A lot of it wasted. Half those players left the club within 2 years. But I do think that on this occasion, in the January transfer window, he would be justified in finding £50 million or whatever, buying a new striker, maybe an attacking midfield player, because it looks like their defence is in pretty good shape. Because I think they could seriously make a challenge. Yeah,
I do.
OK, but if Arsenal don't win it this season, and this is not an Adrian Durham-ism, I think he should stand down, Wenger.
Yeah.
I really do, because they'll never win the league under Wenger. They won it before years ago, obviously, but I don't think if they don't win it this year, he will never win it. And the last our favourite sporting moments of 2016, just basically...
Have you got one?
Throwing them out. Yeah, Steven Gerrard, last game at Anfield, being a big Liverpool fan. I did fill up, brought his daughters onto the pitch. And you know what I watched today? One Night in Istanbul. I never got around to... I got invited to the premiere. I didn't go.
It's meant to be great, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really funny. It's more of a road trip. And Scouts
is from the fans' point of view, isn't it?
Exactly. But to the history that he created and the way he was dealt with by Brendan Rodgers put a lump in my throat. But that last moment was unbelievable.
What do you think about old McCoy getting his knighthood?
Fantastic. I mean, I watched that as well. I got that for Christmas.
Right.
The McCoy.
Did you?
Being McCoy. And the dedication this guy put his body through.
Sure.
Kicks and falls from horses and 20 years.
Yeah. And I was listening to him on breakfast.
Game, 20 years.
He was on breakfast this morning, and they were asking him about whether he missed what he used to do, and he said, well, there's so much that he doesn't miss, like the dieting and the injuries.
Eating lettuce all day.
Getting up
Not
at
something you could do for 20 minutes, Mickey, let alone 20 years.
You don't eat anything green, do you?
Sorry?
You have never eaten lettuce, have you?
No, I eat tinned mushy peas.
Do you?
They're green.
Yeah. Do you boil them?
Yeah. Well, I heat them up in a pan, don't I, you idiot? What else do you do with peas? What a fool. Honestly.
Incredible.
Boys, I love the show.
OK, mate.
Happy New Year.
Mickey, see you at 4 o'clock. Mickey Quinn and Mr. Ian Danter coming up with the Drive Time Show. I've got a lot of more interesting tweets coming in.
Oh, yeah. What about?
Roy says this. He says he's got a stabbing pain in his mid-calf. I guess old MG has been playing with his voodoo doll again, which is very possibly true.
Yeah.
Here's one from Bill, who says, I'm a physio. Porky's calf damage. Calf muscles are connected to jaw muscles. Tell Porky to shut his big fat gob for a year and his calf will mend.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't believe that one, actually.
Frank from Wigan says something similar. Best remedy for Porky's problem is to rest his voice.
With this one here, you see, you give people the wrong impression about me. This is from somebody called Not Best Pleased, OK? That's the name of the Twitter. It says, your injury, Porky, has been caused by the manky trainers you've been wearing all the year round. That's 2 sizes too big for you. Get yourself some fitted properly and you won't have calf muscle problems. Well, that's nice, isn't it, eh?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of advice. Here's my favourite tweet of the day so far.
Right.
From Ian. It says, you wouldn't need a jam jar for Parry's brain. # egg cup.
That's very funny.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, one here, it says, you've got calf problems, Porky. Do you know what that is? That's having to stretch too far to reach the pedals on your new Merc.
Yeah.
Short ass.
Yes.
That's not very nice.
Says,
that's from Barry.
Hey, Mike, could you ask Porky to name a few of these journals he reads, please? Could you give us the name of a couple of these medical journals?
Well, I don't think I should, because some of them are not necessarily journals. They're
papers.
They're research papers, absolutely.
Okay.
Which you have access to if you, if you have associations with the seats of learning in this country.
Which, of course, you do.
Of course.
Like Trent Polly.
Yes.
Chris says, was Einstein's favourite singer Buster Bloodvessel?
Buster Bloodvessel, I like
that.
Not
bad, is it?
Yeah,
and Lord Rallo says, there are a lot of professors at Cambridge. What would we do without the Porkmeister's insight and knowledge?
Well, there you go. It says here, rather cruelly, from Ryan, what elderly care home is old Porky having his New Year's Eve party in tonight? I don't know. Why do people say these things to me?
Well, you are another year older, aren't you?
It's cruel, isn't it?
Roy says, 1p on Amazon. Best deal on Firestarter I've ever heard. I wonder if I can get a box shipped to Nevada.
What's that? Oh, a box of what?
A box of Rooney Tunes.
Oh, Rooney Tunes, yeah. Well,
because it is the cheapest thing to start a fire with.
Honestly, I'm not going to respond to that. Now, Trevor here says, Happy New Year, you pair of bladderators. Keep the good times rolling. That comes from Trev. Trev, thank you very much. That's a very nice sort of New Year's Eve wish.
Yeah, OK.
Very good of you.
Was a bit critical of Matthew Syed, saying, doesn't he know that it's a family show? Because he was talking about, Tiger Woods' extracurricular activities.
To be honest, he raised it before we did. What I found very interesting about what Matthew said
I raised it, but I didn't use a word that was not suitable for a family show.
You didn't allude to Rogerisation, did you? But Matthew did, and he said he nearly wrote a column saying what Tiger needs to do is go around... leg-overisming.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I've been saying that for years.
With young ladies again to get his touch back, if you see what I mean.
Yes, exactly.
His golf swing.
Exactly. But he never did, so he didn't. That's the end of that story.
Yes.
And he may never play golf again. Coming up, it's time for the Porky Quiz on the year we have just passed.
Bring it on.
You like this one?
I like that song, yeah. That is one of my favourites from the past, actually. That's the Pet Shop Boys.
It is.
You're always on my mind. Yeah, I like that, yeah.
So you approve. That's the first one you've approved
now,
of.
Doesn't that start with a sort of a crashing crescendo at the start rather than the end?
I think it does, yeah. I think it does. Yeah. Great song.
Yeah, very good.
Another recommendation for
they were
the
great,
New
the Pet
Year's
Shop Boys.
party.
I also liked West End Girls.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
West End Girls.
Yeah.
What was that called, that one that you just played?
Always on my mind.
Always on my mind, yeah.
You just said that.
Mind you, that wasn't their
We're
song,
doing a
was
quiz
it?
now, you know that, don't you?
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it was an Elvis song. I just said all that.
An Elvis song.
You're
right,
not listening to anything I'm saying.
Okay.
I know you're in the zone and all that for the quiz, but you really should try and pay some attention.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Now, you requested a quiz on 2015.
No, I didn't. I said a quiz and you nominated the subject.
Oh, really? Well, whatever.
Yeah,
I thought we'd agreed on it anyway.
No.
So all the questions will be about something to do with the year that is just passing by.
I have A, a forensic memory, and B, a magnificent attention to detail. So bring it on.
Okay. Now, as ever, there are 10 questions, and if you get one correct, you will hear this sound. Hopefully.
What's that?
Romelu Lukaku.
What was that?
Romelu Lukaku.
Right, Lukaku, yeah.
And if you get one wrong, you'll hear this sound. Ah, that's very good, isn't it?
I see. Lukaku for right, Benteke for wrong, right.
Yeah.
So they're pitting me up against the...
It's the Merseyside
duel.
battle. Right, Question number 1. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
How many lottery millionaires were created in 2015?
What?
How many lottery millionaires were created in 2015?
That's a ridiculous question.
Why?
That's not a well-known fact.
Oh, it is.
Nobody knows that.
Yeah, it is. It was in the papers the other day.
No. Because they've expanded the lottery numbers from 49 to 59.
I didn't ask you about that.
And the chance of winning the lottery, which used to be 1 in 14 million, is now 1 in 45 million, right?
I didn't ask you that either. I asked you how many lottery millionaires were created.
I'm getting to the answer. I'm getting the answer. Logical thought.
Okay.
So the number of lottery millionaires is now going down.
Okay.
I think there's only been 4 since they changed it from 49 numbers to 59, which was in the summer. I'm going to say... because there would have been 26 weeks and it was all right. 30. 30. That's my answer.
Incorrect.
What?
I'm afraid. It's so far out.
What?
By a factor of 10. It's 341.
What?
341 people have been made lotto millionaires in the past year.
But you want...
But what?
The question related to how many jackpots.
No, the question said how many lottery millionaires were created in 2015.
Rubbish question. Utterly rubbish question. And by the way, I want the audience on my side here. Tick those that are rubbish, please, and those that are proper questions for me. Thank you.
Question number 2.
Yep.
What was the name of the first storm of winter?
First storm of winter?
The first storm of winter. This was the year that they introduced names for the storms, remember?
It began with A.
Brilliant.
What?
Brilliant.
What's your problem?
Well, of course it began with A.
Yeah, but only I knew that they're alphabetical starting from the start of the alphabet, you see.
Okay.
Well, a few other people knew, but I
think everybody knew that.
I got it. Right, so it began with A, and it was Storm...
Yeah, no idea.
Yes, I do. Was it a man or a woman?
It's impossible for me to answer that question.
Why?
Because I can't give you any clues.
I think it was Storm... Angela.
Incorrect.
No.
It was Abigail.
Abigail. Well, I was going to say Abigail because I thought A, B, it could be a B.
Yeah, but you didn't say Abigail, you said
Damn
Angela.
it.
Question number 3. A bit of sport here. Which team came 13th in the Premier League?
13th in the Premier League. Do you mean last May?
Yes.
That's a long time ago.
Well, it's still part of this year. The quiz is about 2015. You didn't say only stuff that happened last week.
13th.
Yeah.
13.
There's no point looking at me for a clue.
Hang on a second. 13th.
Well, presumably you know it wasn't Everton.
Yeah, of course I do. 13th. I think that could have been... Who had a late rally and all that. Right, I tell you who I think that was.
Go on.
West Ham.
Incorrect.
No.
It's none out of 3. West Bromwich Albion.
I said West.
Yeah, you don't get anything for West.
I said West and then hesitated.
Doesn't matter.
And then you gave me a bum
No,
steer.
Doesn't matter. You could have said Kanye West for all I care. That was still wrong. Question number 4. What was the Conservatives' margin of victory in seats in the May general election?
In seats?
Yeah.
Do you mean how many seats did they get?
No, I mean how many seats did they get?
Majority?
Majority, yeah.
Majority?
Yeah.
In the general election?
Yes.
In May?
Yes.
Majority... Do you mean the final count?
I don't want the whole number. I want the majority.
Yes, majority. Majority... Well, you give me one either way.
I don't think so, no.
Oh, yeah, I think you should.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, because it was... The election went on for a long, long time. You know, the results were trickling in the next day.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anybody ever actually added up the whole thing.
Oh, they did. Yeah, they did.
Right. In that case...
These mysterious people called journalists.
In that case, the majority that David Cameron worked with, 21.
Incorrect.
No!
Even if I'd given you one, it was 12.
12.
You're a plank.
I was going to say 11, actually.
That's 0 out of 4.
Oh,
no. All right. Now, here's one that you should get. Right. Who said this in 2015? You don't pose nude if you are a certain kind of woman, and that's the kind of woman I was raised to be.
You don't pose nude if you're a certain kind of woman. I think I know this.
Well, I hope you get one soon.
Let me just think who it could be.
You think you know it?
Wait a minute. I'm almost certain that was Dolly Parton.
Incorrect.
No!
This is absolutely horrendous. It was Raquel Welch.
Raquel Welch.
Who said it when she was here. Because there was a big story about how she was approached to be in Playboy and she turned it down. She didn't want to go near. OK, question number 6. I don't think this is going to go well. What was the Christmas number 1?
Christmas number 1?
Yeah, look at his face.
Hang on, which Christmas?
Which Christmas?
Yeah.
Christmas 2015. The
Like
quiz is about 2015.
You mean like now?
I mean Christmas just passed, yeah.
You
don't know, do
What's
you?
your problem? Wait a minute, hang on a second.
Did you do any research for this?
Wait a minute, don't be ridiculous. There's all sorts of different charts these days, that's the problem.
The Christmas number 1...
There is the download chart.
No, there is only one Christmas number 1.
There is the download chart.
There's only one Christmas number 1.
There is the BBC chart.
No, you're just making it up.
No. Christmas number 1, let me think. You see, you never hear it these days because I don't listen to the pop music on the radio.
Yeah, you never hear it now.
Hang on, wait a minute.
Well,
wait a minute.
Of course you hear it.
Hang on. I reckon it was Adele. What are you laughing at?
It was the Lewisham and Greenwich NHS Choir.
Oh, rubbish.
And a song called A Bridge Over You.
What a load
Did you never see any of the publicity about it?
No, and I've never heard of it.
Did you never see the story that Justin Bieber urged everyone to buy it so that he wouldn't be number 1 and they would?
No. You know,
what would you spend your day doing?
I have a lot of responsibilities.
OK, that's 0 out of 6. So all you can actually now get is 4.
Yeah.
You predicted 8 out of 10.
I did.
Question number 7.
Yes.
Who won the Great British Bake Off?
Great British Bake Off. Is that the Mary Berry programme?
You do remember that, don't you?
Sort of. I've never watched it,
What
though.
do you spend your time doing?
Well, I've never watched that, have I? I don't know. I'm
It's
not
all
into
over
baking.
the papers.
Great British Bake Off.
You claim to read every paper
Hang
every
on.
day.
Was it a celebrity? Or was it just some
I'm
Joe
unable to-
Soap person who wanted it off the street?
Unable to answer any questions.
Let me think. I'm going to have to say, 'cause it's the only one I've ever heard of, Mary Berry. What's your problem?
You are completely useless.
What's your problem?
It was Nadia Hussein.
How would I know that?
Because it was all over the papers. She was all over the TV. She was everywhere. There was a lot of controversy because she was the first Muslim woman to win
I
it.
wouldn't know Nadia Hussein from Nasser Hussein.
Wouldn't you?
No.
Well, that's why you don't do cricket very much, isn't it?
No. It's because I don't do Bake Off very much, OK?
OK. Now, here's one on your favourite subject, so you should try and get this one right. Question number 8. Which country appeared in the Eurovision Song Contest for the first time this year?
What?
Which country appeared in the Eurovision Song Contest for the first time this year?
Well, it could be any... There's loads of countries in Europe now. New countries.
Take your pick.
Right. For the first time?
For the first time.
Maybe because on the borders of Europe. Turkey.
Incorrect.
No.
It was Australia. Do you remember Australia were invited to...
What are they doing in the Eurovision Song Contest?
Well,
not in Europe,
are they? The story
they?
was well recorded and written about. Question number 9. You've now so far got 0 out of 8. This could be an all-time low for you.
I think they're ridiculous questions.
Question number 9. Who was named by Forbes magazine as the highest-paid actress in Hollywood this year?
That would be...
Thinking aloud?
I'm trying to think of the big hit film. What was the big hit film this year? It was... Right, I reckon it's somebody like... I suppose it's going to be... Keira Knightley.
Incorrect.
No!
0 out of 9.
Who is it?
What have you spent this year doing? It's Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence.
You don't even know who she is, right?
She
She's a Game of Thrones person.
Game of Thrones. That's a TV production.
Yeah, I know, but she's in loads of other films as well. She's in loads of stuff.
Bum question.
Hunger Games.
Another bum question.
Right. Question number 10.
Well, that's a TV programme as well.
Yeah, well, she's the highest paid actress in Hollywood this year. Question number 10.
But you didn't say that. You said the film star, you said. She hasn't been in a film.
I said highest paid actress. She's been in loads of films.
No.
Don't try and wriggle out of getting 0, right? This one is a royal question.
Right.
So maybe you could get something on this.
Okay.
Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana was born in May.
Yes.
What is the given occupation of her father on the birth certificate?
I reckon he's known as Wales and he's a helicopter pilot.
Incorrect.
No! That's rubbish. That's rubbish.
So he puts down Wales helicopter pilot.
Yes.
That's not what his profession is.
Well, what is his profession?
His profession on the birth certificate is Prince of the United Kingdom.
No.
That's what it says.
That's not his job.
That's what he is.
You said profession. That's not a profession.
The occupation...
Being a prince is not a profession, it's a birthright.
You wouldn't know this, but
it's a birthright.
When you have a birth certificate, it says father's occupation, right?
That question's invalid.
It's not invalid.
It's invalid.
He is in that section of the birth certificate named as Prince of the United Kingdom. You got 0 out of 10.
I'm not even...
That is shocking.
I'm sorry.
That is the worst performance of all time.
Well, I think you'll find, and I'm asking the audience to respond now, that was the worst set of questions of all time.
They were all...
And it's no wonder.
They were all current affairs.
I mean, listen, by the way, I never agreed to a 2015 quiz. It was so wishy-washy and all over the place. You have to ask me on specialist things, because I'm an expert in specialist subjects,
like
OK?
What?
Well, you know, like the things I get lots of marks in.
You've never got more than 3 out of 10 in most of the quizzes.
Rubbish.
I think you got 2 out of 10 on Henry VIII, which is meant to be one of your specialist subjects. On Napoleon, you only got 1.
When I was asked about things
the only quiz you've
like
ever got
Everton
more than...
and the Beatles, I used to get 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, that kind of stuff. Then we ran out of subjects.
You got 3 out of 10 on the Beatles quiz.
You
got 2 out of 10 on the Everton quiz.
I didn't.
You didn't even know what the what that lighthouse thing was that you referred to as a lighthouse.
I didn't refer to
not
a
a
lighthouse. It was a prison.
It wasn't a prison
It
either.
is. It's on the Everton badge. It's a prison.
Yeah,
we all know where it is.
You
It's a
got
little
that
prison.
wrong. Well, anyway, don't worry. A new year gets underway tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, of course, a new leaf can be begun and you can start doing some quizzes on subjects that you think you know something about. But considering that we've all just lived through the last 12 months, you might have remembered some of the stories that you would have read.
It's rubbish.
Unbelievable.
Bum quiz.
That was the Porky Quiz. This is TalkSport.